What's up, everyone, and welcome to No Ifs and/or Buts. It's 6:04. We just barely missed our 6:03 window. It was my fault, though. Actually, it was my camera's fault, but we always have to have a technical difficulty.
Yeah, we're just always having bad luck with our tech stuff.
But we are back to our usual time, and we're back to having guests, finally. Celebration and Molly's birthday got in the way of having a normal show. So,
well, when they announced the release schedule of the grouped episodes, we were like, "Oh, how do we do guests for this?"
We had a list of like 12 people, and then we had to knock it down to 4, and then we had to do
and then we were in Japan,
no
and we were like, "We haven't talked to anyone about this." So
imagine having a birthday for real.
You know, every year Alex is like, "Can you just try not to have your birthday around May the 4th? Because there's always a lot going on."
You just insist. But we are going to be talking about Arc 3 of Andor, which has been making waves on the internet. That's great. But these are the episodes Messenger, oh God, I'm blanking. Who Are You? And Welcome to the Rebellion. We were just talking about the episode titles, and I still brain farted. I'm so tired. But we have help today, and we are bringing on Maggie Lovitt to the show. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
I think this is our first time having you on, so I'm excited to have you.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you've been like making waves too. You've had some great interviews come out on Collider.
I know. I was going to make a joke when you forgot the name of the episode, just like Cassian forgot Cyril.
Yep. Yeah, it was just a bit that I was playing.
It was all a bit. Yeah, we've really been enjoying reading all of your interviews and episode recaps. They've been great.
Thank you. Between season 1 and season 2, covering Andor feels like the gift of a lifetime for someone who loves Rogue One as much as I do.
Mm-hmm.
And talking to Kyle this week was great. I got to talk to him the morning of the episodes, so it was still like very fresh. I just rewatched them the night before to finish up some of my recaps and knew how hard people are going to take that, because I know so many people wanted that redemption arc for Cyril, and knowing what was coming was very fun, getting to kind of dig into that with him.
Yeah, so the link to that article is in the description. I highly recommend checking out. It was great to hear Kyle's thoughts on all that stuff, but I don't know. Do you want to just dive into that? Do we want to go in order of the episodes at all, or do we just want to talk freeform? I don't know.
We could kind of go by character arcs. Instead of episodes, if you want.
Then yeah, let's start with Cyril, because there were some people that were hoping for redemption, and I don't know that I was thinking it would go full redemption, but ever since Arc 2, I was like, I don't see how he can get in deep with the Gorman front and not be affected by this, and so I was I don't think happy is the right word. Devastated. I was devastated to see that he kind of figured it out. Like at the last second.
That was such a painful moment to just witness him realizing that like his whole life almost like has been kind of a lie, and he's just like going through this huge identity crisis in the middle of the Gorman massacre. Like it's bad.
I know. I don't know if I would say I've been rooting for a redemption for him, but I've been rooting for him to see through what the Empire was doing, because I think he was always kind of in this position as an observer because he was so low down on the totem pole. And I think his perspective was something we haven't necessarily gotten to this extent at all with any of the Imperial characters that we've had. And he was at such a unique kind of crux in his arc right when he dies. Like, I love the idea of him dying before his arc could fully be completed, because looking at it from like a regular narrative, he was at like the midpoint of his character arc.
Yeah.
Short because he couldn't let go of an obsession. It's just like this beautiful Greek tragedy. I love it.
It did feel like, this low point where then if his story kept going, maybe he would have gotten redemption, like you suggested in the interview. Maybe he would have joined the rebellion, but he just sees Cassian and can't let go of that.
He's totally seeing red in that moment, and it's really tragic. But like seeing him be on Gorman and like work with the Gorman rebels was really cool to see. And you just know like he's just playing pretend. He's like excited to play spy and like put his little trap on the door and like get the satisfaction of thinking he knows more than everyone else knows, but turns out he doesn't. And there's like this huge thing that he really doesn't know. So when he confronts Dedra, his whole world kind of comes crashing down. And especially when he, oh, my headphones just died.
Oh no.
Can you guys still hear me?
Yep.
Mhm.
Okay.
Well,
I can't hear you, so go keep talking about Cyril.
So yeah, I loved that fight, and I even had kind of that hope that maybe once Cassian said, "Who are you?" and he kind of lowers the blaster, I was like, "Oh, maybe they're gonna get out of this, okay." And then Rylands just like pops him, and that is something that, and I'm glad you brought this up in the interview too, of like, so yeah, what do you think happened in that year gap? Because last we saw him with the Gorman front, they all seemed pretty chill, but yeah, something happened.
I thought it was so interesting, the comment that he made about had Dedra not been in the picture, that maybe something could have happened between him and Enza. I thought that was such an interesting thread because you kind of feel it a little bit because from the beginning, she's kind of looking at him in a very specific way. And I'm like, I would love to know what sort of maybe deleted scenes are out there or story beats that they were like, oh, we can, shed this. We don't necessarily need this, because that slap that she gives him felt personal. And I really liked that he mentioned that. And I also love that, Kyle was saying that he didn't necessarily see Cyril joining the rebellion, but rather just going off somewhere just to sit and think about everything that he's been like part of. And I thought that, was an interesting kind of idea that even if he had lived, he wouldn't have been a good guy.
I liked what Kyle said too about just the perspective of someone who grew up with the Empire, playing with Stormtrooper or Clone Trooper dolls and action figures, and like obviously the way his mother was, but like to him this is all normal, and he just wanted to be a part of the system. He wanted to exist within Imperial norms, which is like that line. Great line. Hated it also. Just the way that they're saying like, haven't the Gormans always been a little bit weird? And like
they branded that propaganda so well. And I loved getting to see that throughout all of these episodes, the way that propaganda spread. And then there's even that moment where like Cyril has the realization that he's witnessing the propaganda at work as that journalist is parroting the same talking points he's hearing inside of the ISB. It's illuminating.
Yeah. The shift of him in Arc 2 telling his mom, you're listening to too much Imperial news. And obviously that is meant to be, I'm playing the part right now, but like, I feel like a year later, he probably is like, oh God, Imperial news is bullshit.
All right. I think I'm back.
Yeah.
I had to turn off this other microphone and do a bunch of stuff, but I'm back.
Did you have any more Cyril thoughts?
I was going to talk about, I keep forgetting the older Gorman guy's name.
Rylance?
Yeah.
Yeah. I loved his confrontation with him. Did y'all already talk about that?
No.
Because he really did act as this almost father figure for Cyril, and like confronting him and having that kind of like push and shove moment really like awakened something in Cyril that I think led to him being a lot more physically violent. Because like he shoves that guy, and I think like he's like, oh, that felt nice, and then he chokes Dedra. He's like, oh, that felt nice, and then we see the huge fight between him and Cassian, which I was just like, going back and watching our reactions, my face was just like, oh no, because like that was such a brutal fight, but so well performed, and it just felt kind of satisfying. Weird to say,
very
but
satisfying, because they kept almost seeing each other.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's just like, Cyril is having his own identity crisis throughout all of this, but you also are like he's thinking, this is all because of you, Cassian. Like, this all started with me trying to track you down, and it all came to a head right there.
We can shift from Cyril to Dedra. I think that's a good point. I was really kind of surprised. What do you think she was freaking out about at the end? I mean, she's having a panic attack. Do you think it was because Cyril's gone, or because just what she is responsible for, saying like do it, and she got to witness the full horror of everything? What do y'all think about that?
I have to say, I don't think she feels any remorse for what she's done, because at the end of the day, like what she said, they're going to be heroes when they go back home and they've done something to, satisfy the Empire. I sort of almost read that moment because she's holding her throat when she's having the panic attack, which for anyone who's had a panic attack, that's not like an uncommon way to react. But I also think it was like decompressing what happened to her, because she did just go through like what is it? Intimate partner violence, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that was somebody who she has been in a relationship with who just choked her out. And he's a very passive character throughout their time together. And then having that, I think, to me, that's what I read it as, because of that very like symptomatic, like she's grabbing at her throat and processing that, because she didn't react the way I think I would have in that situation. She was scared, but not as scared as necessarily as like I would have been. So like, I guess that's my interpretation of that, was that it was related to Cyril and finally having that moment alone to like crack, because she's such a stiff upper lip type of character.
Yeah, and that's really true about Cyril being such a passive guy. Like, we don't see him do anything like physically in the entire show, and Deidre's been able to manipulate him so well that like that moment just came out of nowhere for her, and she's probably thinking like, everything else is going exactly to plan, and that just like happens out of nowhere and kind of freaks her out.
And she can't show it because she's at work and she's expected to pull off this huge event. So it's like you compartmentalize that and then later have your, oh my God, I can't believe that happened to me moment.
I wonder if any of it was a little bit of just relief that things are going the way that they've planned. Because she's like, she never got that satisfaction finding Luthen. And she's been obsessing over Axis this whole time. So she shifts her focus to this Gorman thing, and it all goes smoothly, but it goes according to their plan. And I wondered just like, if any of that reaction was also her decompressing by just being like, whew, okay, I'm glad that worked.
Especially since she has Kato that's come in and kind of taken over so much of what she was already orchestrating. Like there's also that dynamic too, where she's been dedicating this amount of time in her life to this, and then still she's not necessarily responsible fully for that moment of glory. Somebody else is kind of there to share it with her that she wasn't planning for.
Yeah.
I liked their moment, him and Kaido and Dedra, where he was like, I want to make it clear, like, I'm here to mess everything up, but like, you're the one that gives the order. You're going to be responsible for this too.
You're the hand or the trigger. I forget the line.
I'm the trigger, you're the finger, or something like that. It just lined up really well with the Alphabet Squadron trilogy of books. They talk about this like database of how they made every member of the Empire, whether it was like Cyril being a pencil pusher all the way up to the generals, like you're all complicit in war crimes. And like, that's how the Empire is structured, so that it's like, if we go down, we're all going down.
Yeah. And not to harp too much on Cyril's character, we have a lot of other people to talk to, but it's cool to see this play out, because it teaches a very important lesson to like, you may think you're not affecting the bigger picture, but by like not really taking a stance either way, and like, but he is like, he makes a huge difference in all of this.
It's kind of the flip of I just finished reading Into the Light, because I've been like so behind on my books, and I just finished that, and there's a great line about how that story is just about Kashyyyk, and they save Kashyyyk. And Reath Silas, this Jedi character, has a good line about how like he thought it was insignificant, but saving one planet is not insignificant. Like, even though there are galactic scale things happening, and just in our book club we talked about that great line that like even acts of good, small acts of good, are still significant. But yeah, small acts of evil also significant.
Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah. And he just is like playing a game,
Mm-hmm.
and that's wild.
Yeah.
And just the fact that he thought that he had the Empire's trust, and thought that his girlfriend trusted him, and he has to like drag information out of her, be like, what am I doing here? I've been here for like a year and a half, and I have nothing to show for it, but you seem real happy. Like, what's happening?
Yeah.
And that moment of seeing Edie crying at the end was just like the twist of the knife.
Mm-hmm.
That's
And it was so
a
sad.
huge shock for me to be like, I feel so bad for Edie Karn.
I know. It was like such a complex feeling too, because at the same time you're like, his outcome is your doing. Like
Mhm.
everything you've done, you built that man,
Mhm.
and ultimately, played a part in this. But at the same time, you feel bad for her. But also, like, listening to the broadcast, when I went back and rewatched it again, like hearing what they're saying on the TV, like it's the Imperial news, they're heroes. And like at the same time, like wondering if she sees his death to be a good thing because he died a hero and not a pencil pusher.
Mhm.
Like, I wish that we like saw more of that scene to kind of get where she's at too. But you can theorize, I guess.
Yeah.
I guess I read it as like she's just sad that she lost her son. Like,
Mhm.
I guess I'm putting too much hope on Edie that she is like,
She's such a great character too.
yeah. I love watching her. It's all the villains in this show. Edie, Major Partagaz, like what a delight that man is. He's a monster.
Yeah.
But calibrate your enthusiasm. Come on.
He had some of the best lines.
He did.
Bad Luck Gorman. Like, oh, that's so evil, but love
Edie
watching him.
Edie could also be sad that she has no one to push around anymore if her son never comes back around.
Well, I think she was like using him to climb the levels of imperial status,
Yeah.
and hierarchy, and yeah, she won't have that anymore. But I would like to think she was just genuinely sad that the son she used and abused is gone.
Mhm.
Who do we want to talk about next?
Do we want to go on to Dedra then?
Sure.
Back to talking about Cyril more, I guess.
Oh yeah, did we discuss all of Dedra's stuff?
It's like she did a whole lot in this arc of just kind of like standing there and looking intense.
Well, she's great at that.
Okay, do you both think that Dedra actually cared for Cyril, or was it also just completely using him?
I think she liked the comfort of having a partner,
Mhm.
and the comfort of thinking, oh, I'm fitting in by having a partner and we're living together, and it's almost like they're playing house.
Yeah. Especially since that feeds into the imperial norms thing.
Right.
I mean, we
Yeah.
get so many of the little references, like Lonnie has a wife, the other guy has a wife. Like there's little references to the fact that that seems to be what I mean, it's the same thing as being in the military. Like you get treated better if you have a spouse, you get better housing, you most likely rank up faster. Like there's certain expectations, and I wonder if that's some of what factored into why she saw him as easy prey.
Mhm.
I like that. Had not thought of that.
Yeah.
I like, again, maybe I'm just putting too much. I'm like, I would like to think that she liked him a little bit.
Yeah.
But that kiss that she gives him is like fully manipulative of just like,
So,
stop
yeah.
talking.
This is it too. It's like the first time he starts to crack too, because it's like the shut up and stop asking questions type of kiss.
Mhm.
It's so awkward.
There's probably a little bit of guilt there too, where if we go back to the end of season 1, he did save her life. So the way she grew up and the way she just fits in so well with the Empire and how the Empire runs, she may just think like, well, I owe this man my life now, and I'm gonna make it work. And so she might still feel just like a little bit of guilt from that.
I mean, she did help his situation with his mother, which if she didn't really care for him, she probably wouldn't have put much effort into.
Mhm.
I think there was like some level of she appreciated him. Like Tony Gilroy did say that, she is not equipped emotionally to be in a relationship, but I think she was maybe doing her version of her best. I don't know.
Yeah, I think they both
Yeah.
were. I mean, neither of them, I think, should be in relationships with anyone.
Right.
Go to therapy, both of you. Got a lot of work to do first.
Yeah. Maybe there was a bit of her that cared for him, but I like the idea of Cyril's over here playing his spy game, and Dedra is playing her own game of just like, this is what a normal woman does. She has a partner, we live together, and she's kind of playing her own game.
Yeah.
Let's jump over to Cassian and talk about him as we like get into like, because we at least start before the massacre and Gorman and everything. But I just wanted to dive in with Maggie. What did you think of the Force healer
I love
and all of that?
so much. That scene, I think that one took me the most by surprise out of all of the scenes so far, just because it felt like we weren't going to get any Force talk in Andor, but it mirrors up so perfectly with Rogue One and the way that the Force is introduced in the film. And that scene was just so good and so intricate, and there's so many layers. And I love the way that the dialogue works in this show, where it references things that have happened to these characters throughout their life in such subtle, normal ways, and it never feels like weirdly like, look back at this thing that's happened before, or like look at these references. Like, I love when he talks about like his mother not liking the Force healer, and there's just like, yes, but that was like 10 years ago, like you can move on from this. And it was such a beautiful moment for Cassian and Bix, which has just become like my all-time favorite Star Wars couple ever. Like, they're just so good. And I love how that scene functions to show a little bit more into their relationship too, and Bix trying to better Cassian's life in a way that he's maybe not fully capable of doing himself.
Yeah, it's cool seeing her see more of his potential and be there to like try to bring it out of him. But yeah, I also really loved when he brought up Marva, because yeah, it sounded like maybe they had one weird run-in with a Force healer 10 years ago, and ever since then Cassian just has this preconceived notion that like, they're kooks, whatever, who cares, like they're not for real.
Which also feels so much like Cassian too. Like, once he's made his mind up on something, he's like, this is how it is. I'm not changing my opinion on this.
Yeah.
So it was just such a fun little character moment. And I also love the reference that Bix gives that like she's had dreams like that, where he's a messenger. And I love that kind of like, it's the subtle foreshadowing to Rogue One that just like kills me.
Mm-hmm.
But knowing that she has some sort of, awareness of what's going on, I think is an interesting concept to play with as well.
Yeah, and it shows how Cassian can grow, and we see him working with Chirrut and Baze, and like he may have been a lot more shut off from the things that they had to say about the Force had that moment not happen with the Force healer.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of carries into Rogue One and makes him maybe a little bit more open to that stuff.
There's a great line from the Rogue One novelization that I don't know why that stuck with me, but when he and Chirrut and Baze are all in the cell and Chirrut calls him captain, like, we've been in worse cells than this, captain. And Cassian realizes, like, I never told this blind man my rank or anything. And yeah, just these little like subtle Force things.
Mm-hmm.
I remember watching the first arc of the first season, and we got to a shot with a ship in hyperspace, and Molly and I were both like, oh right, Star Wars-y stuff. And like, I had just like not expected the Force to be in this at all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But this was such a good balance between like, yeah, the Jedi are gone, and this Force healer is like, yeah, sometimes it works. She's just, but like with Cassian, she's like, oh, you've got the Force around you. Like
Mhm.
you're going somewhere and you've got somewhere important to be. I'm like, oh, I loved all that.
And I love the way it like recontextualizes so much of Rogue One too, because I rewatched Rogue One after finishing the entire series, but like it made me think about all these little moments where like, is Cassian thinking about this moment when he's encountering them? Like, is he thinking about, oh, I remember that time and then like Bix left me and like this set me on this course? Like it adds so much context in such a beautiful way that like works so well and bookends so perfectly. Hurts me a lot though.
Yeah.
That scene made me cry so much because it's that real. It was like the realization after watching all the screeners, like the realization that the inevitable was coming.
Oh yeah.
Can't escape it. This isn't changing Rogue One. Like,
they start to build to it so well in these 3 episodes. The conversation with Luthen too, where he's like, have you been making your own choices? I mean, yeah, I think there's free will in Star Wars, but like you popped up when I needed you, and you've been everywhere and affected things on Ferrix and Narkina 5 and on Cyan. And he's like listing all this stuff. And he's like, don't you find that a little weird? And for that to come from Luthen, I was not expecting that.
it made me think of something Tony had said to me. I had done a preseason interview with him, and he referred to Cassian as like a messiah figure. And I realized that's very much is referencing that Luthen line, because that's kind of how Cassian has functioned. He has always shown up when somebody needed him to his death, essentially. He died to save us all.
I was trying to pull up the episode because I don't remember the line, but when Cassian leaves and it's just Bix and the Force healer talking, she says something like, maybe he belongs with you, or maybe you're where he needs to be. And I feel like that is like the moment she realizes she has to leave. And I was like, no. It's so brutal.
I know.
Because she's like, it can't be me. It has to be. He's got bigger things to do.
And then she probably felt hopeful when he did agree to go and do the Gorman thing. And she was probably like, maybe when he comes back, he'll still be like, my head's in the game. But then he comes back and he's like, I'm done. Let's go.
Yeah, he wants
tomorrow.
Which is also just so sad, because you want him to be happy. You want people like Cassian to be able to do both, be a hero and have a happy relationship with Bix.
Him going like, yeah, haven't I done enough? And it's like, I mean, yeah, I think that you've done a whole lot, but like knowing where he goes in Rogue One, it's like, no, you haven't.
Yeah. The part of my brain that's thinking of like, what if this is real life? I'm like, yeah, Cassian should quit and they should run off together and be happy. But then I'm like, the writer side of my brain, the more poetic side, is like, no, this is more interesting. This is more poetic, more meaningful, yada, yada, yada.
I think about this a lot, but when I was taking improv classes, our teachers taught us, like, in a comedic way, like when you're in a scene, just think like, how can I make this worse? And I'm like, I think a lot of writers just do that too, of like, yeah, how can I just make this emotionally worse and more painful and more impactful? And that's what I feel here, is Tony Gilroy and all the writers being like, how do we make that end moment that's already pretty sad in Rogue One? Like, how do we make that even worse?
Yeah. Yeah, I have to say it completely recontextualized so much of Rogue One for me. Like, I just keep thinking about how probably in the back of his head, he's still thinking like, after this is over, like maybe this is my chance to, like, this is the big thing that I'm doing, and I'll go find Bix after this. And knowing that isn't going to happen for him is just like devastating. And then like recontextualizing, what is he thinking as he realizes he's getting ready to die? And like, they really did make it worse, like you said.
Yeah. Well, I love all of the, I mean, this was just back in season 1. People were already talking about when he's telling Jen, your father would be proud of you. It's like, well, he's probably thinking about Marva.
Yeah.
And like, ugh.
Yeah, she would be proud of him. Real quick, I just wanted to say hi to Chris.
Hi, Chris.
Chris Kimshaw says, briefly stopping by shortly before midnight here to say much love to the 3 of you, and I'm looking forward to catching up on your videos and reviews for the next few days. Thank you, Chris.
I keep on quoting the rise and fall of the Galactic Empire in my reviews, so thanks, Chris, for the help.
There's a lot of good stuff in there to use.
Anything we want to talk about before we, like, I guess, get into the actual massacre part of things?
I did love. Yeah, I think we can wait to talk about the K2 stuff. It's
Oh
connected.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, here's someone I want to talk about as we. This is a good way to get into it. I think his name is Thela, but I
Yes.
love the bellhop who I think he got promoted
Yes.
from season 2 to season 3. But him getting to deliver the rebellions are built on hope line is wonderful. But I already just like something that actor crushed it because I
Good.
loved him in Arc 2 as someone who just got to come in and talk about the Tarkin massacre, which is like some old Legends nerdy trivia deep cut, but like make that it's no longer just a footnote in a role-playing source book. Like, nah, this guy, like he made you feel it that he was there when he was 16 during the horror of it all.
Yeah.
And I just like I fell in love with that character.
Yeah. It made me think. Like it almost felt better hearing him say it than how it's said in Rogue One, because yeah, he tells that story, and you realize that despite the trauma that he's been through and witnessed in that exact same place, he's stayed there. He's working in right next to it, like probably thinking about it a lot, and he still is able to say, no, we can do this. Rebellions are built on hope. And he's like stuck through it this whole time. Ugh, that was such a good place for that line.
And it's also so interesting to me too, because they have positioned him as this character who experienced the first Gorman massacre and then the second Gorman massacre. And that line carries through. And I think it's in the novelization that reporter is there when Jen says it. She copies what Cassian says and then says it when she's giving the big speech, and it's spread throughout the entire galaxy. And the idea of that sentiment originating from somebody who was just a bellhop at one time speaks so much to like what I think you were saying earlier, Alex, about like one small act can have a really big impact.
Yeah.
That's to go back to the messenger. I just love that. Like, look at all that you've been gathering. I'm like, I mean, we knew that that's what the show was about, of how Cassian goes from apathetic to revolutionary to I will sacrifice my life. But it's like all of these people that come in, and maybe it's a minor thing. Maybe it's he said one thing and helped him out a little bit, or maybe it's everything that happened on Narkina 5. But just like watching Cassian go through all of this stuff and gather all these moments that make him who he needs to be for his destiny. Like it's like scary and comforting. I don't know. Like,
yeah,
I love that he gets scared when the messenger talks to him, because like that to me, that takes me back to the Empire Strikes Back and Luke saying he's not afraid about like his potential and who he could be and his power. And Yoda's like, oh, well, you should be.
Yeah, it's scary because there's an element to destiny that is scary because you don't really know how it works and it's different for everyone. But then it's comforting because we've been able to watch Cassian throughout almost 2 full seasons of this show and see how every decision he's made has led him to this point. So it's like a little bit of destiny, but he's also worked really hard and made all the decisions that he's made to like get there. So we've been able to see all the work.
So I guess let's like keep talking about the Gormans, or the Gore, and talk about them coming into the plaza and the build up to all of that. I love how much this series uses either chanting or music, or in this case, both, to just like ratchet up the tension. But watching them all chanting coming into the plaza and then watching it shift into the national anthem, planetary anthem. What do you call that? Their planet's anthem.
Oh yeah.
I thought that was all awesome, but also like it was just building up the dread more and more.
It was like Les Mis. It felt like the barricade was being built, and I was like, here comes all the barricade boys getting ready to die.
I love Lazine. I saw people online calling him Brasso because he's like French Brasso. I'm like, that's very funny. But I thought that they did a great job with him. Like, he's only in a handful of scenes, but if you compare him to the second arc to now, he's like a bit of a hothead and is part of the reason Cinta dies. But then we get to this point, and I think he's seeing people passing around blasters and Molotov cocktails and stuff, and he's the one that tries to de-escalate. And I thought that was pretty cool that they gave this smaller side character a little character arc.
Yeah, I thought it was so interesting. There was so much discourse this week about him and being like, what's his deal? What's his problem? Like, because of what happened with Senta and like how he completely unintentionally played a part in that, because nobody was supposed to have a blaster. Who could have predicted it? And I think he really evokes the image of somebody who, like, he was there at the town hall. He was a revolutionary from a start, but he wasn't necessarily getting involved with the very ununified riffraff of the Gorman front, but he was probably doing his own efforts outside of that, because he's very clearly revolutionary. So I think that he just speaks to like a different kind of revolutionary, maybe somebody who was alive, obviously, during the last major incident in Gore in Gorman. So I think he's just a really interesting character. I definitely feel like he's going to end up being one of those kind of Glup Shadow characters for people. Sure. There's a lot there that you can kind of surmise about him.
Yeah, that there was so much more that we could have gotten with all the Gorman stuff, but I was glad that they were able to give us as many different characters in the Gorman arc on Gorman that we did get, because they had just like a lot of different types of people that would be in a situation like that made sense. And yeah, it was cool to see them have their own little character arcs.
And I love Will getting with Drina.
Yes.
Haley has a group of blonde, since his girlfriend on Mineral was blonde too.
I was like, if there's one thing I know about Willman, he's gonna find a lady at every planet he goes to, and we respect that.
But hey, like, that wasn't just a fling. He was like, I have to go find Drina at the end. He's like,
hey, maybe being around Bix and Cassian on Yavin like made him see that you kind of have to be crazy for the person you love. So
yeah, he's young.
We can just talk about Willman for a second, because I thought that was going to be the loss of this arc. I mean, among so many losses, but as far as Cassian's Ferrix friends, I was like, he's not coming back, is he? So it was a nice surprise that he made it to Coruscant.
It was. I thought it was a tiny bit jarring after going from his scene with Saw to then seeing him show back up on Yavin, and I was like, oh, he's fine, I guess. He looks okay.
I want to know what happened in that intervening year, because I honestly thought after he had that moment with Saw, I was like, yeah, I can totally see him being very much like motivated by what happened on Ferrix to be more of, part of the partisans, but
radicalized.
What happened?
Yeah, the only real thing I can think of is that he is still a little more radical. He's still more with Luthen than Cassian. It sounds like Willman is still doing things for Luthen, and Cassian's like, I'm done with that. But yeah, this is the first arc that made me really feel the structure of this season, where I'm like, well, hold on, we're on Yavin already, and it's this built up. I'm like, I really wanted to see that a little bit more, but it is what it is.
Maybe we'll get books or comics. I still think, like a comic series showing, really going into the creation of the base on Yavin would be really neat to see.
Yeah.
There's
maybe
a whole
we can
lot
get one of those like presents a short movie kind of thing, like they did with, what was it, Werewolf by Night that Marvel did?
Yeah. That'd be
fun. Give us more Draven.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I did like that. I did like little like costuming details of he's just got like this crappy little patch on for his rank.
Little placeholder for when they get a bigger budget.
Hello, my name is General. Like,
I promise I'm a general. My sticker says it. I was very excited to see him.
So then the Gorman massacre happens. I guess we should talk about that. That was all just terrible. I mean, like, terrifying and awful. I don't know. What were your thoughts on that, Maggie? Just what was your reaction to all the violence, like, finally breaking out?
unmitigated horror.
Mm.
I mean, it was so perfectly done. I mean, the build up to it across all 3 arcs, knowing what was going to happen, and also just there, it's so relevant and timely, and like that hit me a lot in a lot of ways with it. But it was so interesting to see and track each character through it, like seeing Thela sacrificing himself to blow up something, and seeing where like Dylan and Enza and Sam and Drina and Will and like all of them are moving around in it, and being so focused on these characters that we've come to know, but then also seeing all of these like 350 other extras that they have on set being slaughtered as well, and just like realizing the depth of what this is going to do to this planet, and then knowing also that even after these people survive, they're still going to die.
Yeah.
This planet is going to be destabilized. So horrifying.
Right. Ugh. Yeah, it's to see Rylands too, just trying his best to convince them that like, actually, wait, no, this shouldn't happen. This is what they want. And no one's listening to him. They're like, no, we have to do this. And seeing him panic after that was really hard to watch.
The whole writing surrounding this arc and the last arc, where they're trying to figure out what the right move is, and it's like there isn't one, because I don't think in arc 2 that they should just do absolutely nothing. But if you do anything, that's what the Empire wants. And so like what is the right move? I don't know. And so it just sucked to see Rylands trying to convince people like you're walking into death.
And it plays right into the Imperial stuff about them being so proud, especially when they start singing the anthem. And it's just like, oh God, like this has been orchestrated so well, and that's just like hard to see the Empire just like getting exactly what they want.
And it's them, trying to make people not people anymore. Like we're all Imperials. You're not Gormans anymore. You can't sing your national anthem anymore.
Right.
Like they don't want people to be anything but Imperial. And if you have any sense of individuality, then like, oh, you're outside of the norm and you're weird and you're other and we fear you now.
Yeah. And also the way they teed up the fact that the riot gear imps that are there are like practically children that have probably been pressed into service from the last planet they did something like this to. And the fact that they're there, and there's like the one whose helmet like falls a little bit, and it's like so clear that he doesn't really know like what he's doing or like how to hold himself. And the fact that the snipers kill one of them to start it, to make it look like it's the Gore that are attacking first. Like, sure, the Gore were throwing rocks, so yes, they were already attacking, but like they fired the first shot to make it look like the Gore. And like the way that was orchestrated, the fact that like the first people that the imps turn on are women at the front of the line, like grim.
Knowing that they took the first shot against their own Imperial guys was like so frustrating to watch. You're like, of course they would do that to start the fight, because they're like,
they kept trying.
They're like, we gotta get this going, we have lunch.
The ships are landing, like the drilling ships are here, we gotta get people dead. And
pin them in too in this tiny little space, and that they are blocked off from like all corners. Just horrifying.
Yeah. And the way that they shot that whole scene too, you as the viewer feel blocked in. The way they shot, like from the perspective of all the Gormans looking out, and all you see are the barricades and the stormtroopers. It just like makes you even more stressed out.
And then the KX units.
Oh, the KX units. I was so pleased with how terrifying they were, because I'm about to play a KX unit in our D&D group. And I was like, yes! But it was terrifying.
Real quick, before we get into them coming out, I just liked that they shoved Cyril in that room with them. And I don't know that he was thinking about this, or if it was something they intended. I doubt it. But like KX units, battle droids are supposed to be illegal. So I feel like this is just yet another
Oh,
thing of
yeah.
the Empire being like, they're security droids. And
You think
so that's
Cyril
our
was
little
like,
legal loophole. Yeah.
wait a second, they're not supposed to be here.
Right. Like what are these droids doing here? And them being like, they're clearly battle droids.
Yeah.
So they just come in and
And,
yeah,
like,
they made
why
them
is
terrifying.
there gore in there too? I was confused by that. Like my theory for that was that they were maybe relatives of some of the people who worked on there or something like that. So they just looked more gore and they were being kept in there for safety. But it's a weird place to stick them in there with the battle droids.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that one, when he comes out and kicks the barricade,
Yeah.
it was like my jaw was on the floor. I was like, oh, this is scary. This is like, and it goes back to like the moment in season 1 when they're on Niamos and you see him just like pick someone up. Like, we know the KX droids are intense, but the same way this show has been able to make even just one little TIE fighter seem scary on Aldhani, they made the KX droids way scarier.
That's something like TIE fighters or especially stormtroopers in Star Wars will a lot of times like be the subject of jokes and like, they can't hit anything and they're kind of goofy and they say dumb things and but like they take everything. I think I said this in my review, but those are the stories about the mythological characters who have plot armor. And so when you take that away and it's like, these are the characters with no plot armor. And yeah, stormtroopers are like the fist of the Empire and they are terrifying. And so are KX droids. And so is one TIE fighter. And they like, I think they're doing a great job at making the horrors of fascism very apparent.
Yeah. And that one, the girl who gets hit by the KX droid and then she like slides on the ground up to like close up on the camera. I was like, this is, for Star Wars, this is crazy brutal.
They did this that shot, like they hold that shot for a long time, and they did that on Ferrix too. And I like it and hate it, like because they're just trying to show you like look at this.
Yeah.
These people are dying, they're dead, and like you're just staring into their face.
Yeah. They're like, you want gritty rated R Star Wars? Here you go.
Right. What did we think of K2's introduction? Because I'm sure that's going to be the subject of much debate for the next few days. But like as far as just this episode goes, and comics notwithstanding, what did we think of it?
I thought it was fun, and I love that they gave Sam a bit of a hero moment after what happened with Senta. I think that reinforces the idea that he is trying to live up, like what Vel said to him, coming in at that moment and saving the day. But oh my god, I loved it. I thought it was fine. I only read that comic once, so I know everyone's really upset about it. So
I haven't seen a ton of people upset. Like
a couple.
Yeah.
Like rest in peace to that comic.
The comic wasn't that great. Like it wasn't a satisfying intro, I felt. I am a little bit sad about the fact that like a comic did fully get kind of written away. But I feel like that's a separate issue, more about like Star Wars and Lucasfilm and canon and how it all works. But this, I think, was a better introduction for K2SO and Cassian.
Yeah.
And I do appreciate at the same time you have like Tony and the team trying to ensure that the Rebels canon still is like mostly intact. So I wonder if it was some sort of conversation like, okay, we're going to do away with this comic, but I will work to make sure Rebels.
It was a negotiation. You can delete one comic, Tony.
But I think I had a lot of fun with this introduction, and I particularly like that K2, as we know and love him, we get at the end after Bix leaving. And it's like, I'm so sorry about your girlfriend, Cassian, but you get Alan Tudyk now. Like,
yeah,
this is your consolation prize.
Now you get a buddy. I did like too how the camera would go close on to Cassian, like watching the KX droids, because he's thinking like, what if we had something like that on our side? And so it was cool to see his process a little bit of being like, yeah, I might grab that, take it with me.
Yeah.
But Alex, talk about the guy on Reddit who had the amazing headcanon that is now in my headcanon.
I was going through like my own acceptance process of like, okay, there's probably tiers of canon now, blah blah blah. But I was like reading other people's reactions to it, and there was a username Omni on the Star Wars comics subreddit. He was like, this is basically just like the Fest Canary thing, where his Cassian's Homeworld was Fest in a reference book. Marva said it was Canary, but also said Fest was their cover story. So Draven, at the end of this episode or these episodes, says this is all being stricken from the record. We're not going to log this. No one's going to know about this. So if they need a cover story for how they got this K2 droid, we have the comic. There we go. I was like, you know what? That makes me feel better. I like that.
I love that. That is my headcanon now too. That's great.
I thought it was a great idea.
Yeah, it just makes sense that the fact that he has a KX droid with him at all is kind of like people would question that. So yeah. I like that there's a little story that they can say if they need to.
Yeah.
Yeah. It plays into from a certain point of view.
Yeah.
I do love that Star Wars uses that to be like, well, yeah, you see this perspective is just a little bit different now that it's on screen.
It's kind of like the Rebels thing. We'll talk about that when we get there, but I will check with you real quick, Maggie, that we've reached an hour. Are you still good to go? Because we still have a full other episode to talk about. So.
Okay.
But yeah, we get through the Gorman massacre. We get to Coruscant, and like I have been so excited for this moment since they first like mentioned Gorman in season 1. I was like, oh my God, they're gonna do the massacre. And then I was like, oh my God, they're probably gonna do the speech too. And especially after seeing like Kino Loy's monologue and Luthen's monologue and Marva's monologue, I was like, this is the best of all worlds to get to see Mon Mothma deliver a speech about this. And I was so happy about it. So what did you think of just this episode?
Me?
Yeah, sorry.
I love everything that came together with the Mon scene. I think that was probably one of the most powerful speeches to come out of Star Wars. The delivery was so good. And I love Benjamin Bratt's Bail Organa. I love how he was used in this episode. I love so many of his like little lines. I love that the camera turns to him when Oren says they'll come for your planets next. Knowing what happens with Alderaan.
Ugh.
I was like, okay, that was unnecessary, Andor. Do not remind us. But that speech was just next level. And I love that. I think it was in the declassified stuff today or another interview. Maybe it was EW's interview, but they weren't originally going to do like the entire speech. It was going to be a smaller version of the speech. But then Genevieve was like, come on.
Yeah.
Give me that full speech.
Which is the correct move, Genevieve. Like,
yeah. Mon needs this moment.
Yeah, I can't imagine like getting those 3 great monologues in season 1 and then being like, no, you're not going to write me a cut up speech. Like, give me one.
And I love Cassian listening to it. And I love knowing that, you know, he's going to go back and be like, we're still out of here. Like that speech it has an effect on him. And like, there's that moment of realization too, when he's told that like, you survived the massacre on Gorman, like she's going to go risk her neck to talk about that. And like, there's that little moment of realization, but he's still so determined to avoid his destiny essentially at that point still. I thought that was a neat kind of layer to it.
Yeah. I love that we got to see so many shots of Mon working with other senators and like trying her best to like convince these people of what's going on and like to do the right thing. And we've been seeing that from her point of view the whole time since season 1. And this just felt like such a satisfying moment for her to basically just be like, you guys are idiots. Palpatine's the worst. I'm out. And she gets out.
That's what the speech would have been if we wrote it.
I would have
Y'all
not,
suck.
Yeah, I would have not done a good job at that speech. And then she gets the moment where she puts on Cassian's coat, or Cassian puts the coat on her, and that's kind of like a nice rebirth for her character to be like, she's shedding her Senate political BS, and she's like officially free of all of that, and she can focus on the rebellion fully now.
I think they did a great job in both seasons leading up to this point of showing that how much diplomacy was failing, because I think the prequels, especially with Padme, she's always trying to, she says this war represents a failure to listen, and like diplomacy can still work. And I think Mon was trying to like work through the system and work through diplomacy, but you see her get more and more frustrated and how it's failing. So yeah, getting that moment where she throws off the Senate robes and then she's wearing the coat of a soldier, I'm like, that's so good.
She's I mean, I don't know when she started. She probably did the same kind of like young senator program that Leia's probably currently in. But she's kind of dedicated her whole life to this. So there's always going to be a part of her that's like, this has to work. I want to make this work. And
she was a senator at the age of like 16 or 15 or something.
Yeah, I like that she mentions that when she's starting her speech. She's like, there's like, what does it she say exactly? Essentially, like, I have more memories here than like anywhere else. I came here as a child, and this has been my entire life. And I liked that context of it, where she was making it clear to her peers that like what I'm getting ready to do is like the end of all of that. I'm sacrificing all of that, servitude to the people for this moment. I loved something that somebody had said on Twitter. I can't remember who it was. It was one of those things that just got fed to me on the algorithm, but that Bail was putting so much effort into protecting Mon because he failed Padme. He wasn't able to protect her. And I thought that was a really interesting note. And a headcanon I also adopted.
Yeah.
It's really fun seeing their relationship, especially like reading the Mask of Fear book by Alexander Freed, where like they're not pals in that book. And that surprised me, but it basically says like if Padme were still around, the rebellion probably would have gotten its shit together a lot faster. But she was gone, so like Bail had his way of doing things and Mon had her way, and like we've seen how that's been going in Andor season 2 of all these disparate like cells that can't cooperate, but like they're finally unified and like on the same path. It's very satisfying to see.
Yeah.
But I also just like, oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I also really liked Benjamin Bratt as Bail.
So good.
There's the whole recasting discussion, whatever. But like, I love Jimmy Smits, but yeah, like the second I saw Benjamin Bratt in Star Wars, I was like, oh, you belong here. Like, I always liked how he was playing it. I'm just like, I'm going to be sad no matter what if Bail shows up in a future story because someone is going to not get to play him. And I like them both.
Yeah.
And I don't agree with people who are like, they should have just made it a different senator. Like, no, this has to be Bail.
You have to have Bail in this story. I totally agree.
Yeah. Like, it has to be him. They made it work. Benjamin's great. I love that they had him at the screening last night up in New York, and that he have his little welcome to the family. That was great.
Yeah, because he didn't get to go to Celebration. Maybe he'll go to the next one.
What's Benjamin Bratt doing?
Oh, we should get him to go.
I also just love the content of the speech. I mean, the fact that it focused so hard on the propaganda of it all, and that line of like now I can't remember it, but the gap between what is said and what is known to be true has become an abyss, and just like dealing with the online world and social media and AI videos and AI articles and AI everything, AI search results, like everything just like came tumbling into my head at the same time when she said that, and I loved everything she said about it.
Yeah, the death of truth is the ultimate victory of evil will haunt me for a long time. Just the relevance of it all. and
Well,
it
that
just works
Mhm.
so well.
I just happened to be like I'm working on a video just about the Clone Wars series and specifically all of the morals at the start of every episode. And so I just like fortunately had recently cataloged all of them and put them into little boxes of like here are all the ones about loyalty and here are all the ones about greed and wow, truth sure comes up a lot. And
Uh-huh.
like that's the biggest box. And I
Didn't you
just
do
remember having that.
didn't you do a word cloud
I did.
with all of them?
Oh, I wonder if I can find it.
We should post that because when you told me you did that, I was like, that's so smart.
Uh,
I wonder how big the word truth is.
I will try to search for it while we talk, but yeah, like I just immediately had that thought of like, oh my god, this is still just the lessons that the Clone Wars wanted to teach us.
Mhm.
For someone like Tony Gilroy who says he doesn't know or care about Star Wars to come in and I'm like, you say that, but like he gets it. He gets what it is about.
Yeah.
And I
And
love that.
we know like George Lucas was very involved in all the storytelling in Clone Wars, and he
Mhm.
knew a lot of those messages were evergreen, and he was like, it's so smart to use words like that that are always going to make
Mhm.
sense and always going to be true in just about any situation. That's why Star Wars works so well and can last forever.
Mhm. Because it's based in history. That's what I think. I mean, George Lucas had, his roots in anthropology, and understood the kind of the thematic elements of culture and humans and their folly and replicated it into a galaxy far, far away that was a little too close to home. And Tony does it really well too. I mean, he always talks about how he's a student of history, and I think that the echoes of that come through so clearly in Andor and the way that it bookends so well with so much of the original trilogy and what George was using that to kind of speak to as well.
Mm.
Yeah, hearing him talk about how like he wasn't writing it specifically to be relevant for today. He was trying to make it relevant for like all of history, which really sucks to think about. But he's like, yeah, it is relevant for today, but it's also relevant to any point in time, basically.
Yeah, it just
Mhm.
proves that history repeats itself, so it'll always come back around. Yeah.
Yeah. As a
So-
student of history and anthropology myself, it always rings very true to me. It's
Hmm.
one of the things I love most about Star Wars.
Yeah.
Well, after the speech, we get the escape, which actually now I'm just looking through images to remind myself of everything that happens. I really love that there was a good, solid moment of. I think one of the first moments that I remember, like just really loving Andor in the first arc, is after everything has happened, and it shows like kind of all the characters just like sitting and thinking about what just happened. Uh, and so we got like a little moment between Bale and that other senator who helped out, and it just kind of like focused on some of those people who are reflecting, and I liked that moment. But really, like we get to the escape. We get Cloris taken out.
Oh god, that was satisfying. I was happy to see him taken out.
Same.
I loved all that. The Cassian's quick thinking, getting his name, pretending to be
Oh,
ISB.
yeah.
But I really loved how horrified Mothma was because, like, yeah, she's been with this dude for 4 years at least.
Hmm.
So you would be shocked.
Yeah.
And that was the second person that Cassian just gunned down in front of her.
Oh yeah, we didn't talk about the
Oh, right.
ISB plant that was
Mhm.
one of Bale's people, and that just added a whole other like element of just making this all a lot scarier because you think about how much Bale knows about the Jedi, about where Luke and Obi-Wan are. If his people can get an ISB plant, like we were close to something a lot worse, probably.
I mean, they lucked out that it was one of Lonnie's guys. So Lonnie then told Luthen, who then told Bale or told
Yeah.
Cassian to get her out without letting Bale ever know what was going on.
Yeah.
If it
That-
had been Lonnie's guys, if it had been like Hart's guys or something.
Yeah.
Here might have told Lonnie they're besties.
That's true.
They should over a Cali Cooler.
Cali Cooler.
That's all. Lonnie's just getting his ISB peers drunk every night.
Yeah.
Hey, I mean, loose lips sink ships.
And we haven't really talked about like the build up to Cassian and Mon Mothma meeting, and I did like the whole Luthen Mon Mothma conversation where he's trying to gain her trust, but like she can't, and she's like, "Are you just trying to kill me?" Which is a valid question.
Yeah. She, at this point, especially after finding that listening device in her office too, she's just kind of like frazzled, doesn't know who to trust anymore. She's probably still thinking about what was her assistant's name?
Erskine
Yeah.
being connected to Luthen. So
for 2 years.
Yeah.
I love that we got to see that moment of Luthen and Erskine meeting at the wedding. And it just kind of felt like, oh, he's fishing for more information, but yeah, the fact that led somewhere, it's like, that was well done. And also like just the fact that they brought in Erskine Samaj from Rebels, where I was like, who's this dork in the show? And now I'm like, this man is rad.
Yeah.
Again, Tony Gilroy, you pretend you don't care.
It was, and I loved how they used him in the earlier arc to show how like the Chandrillan people were just like not cool with him because he was like from Naboo
and
was he a bastard?
Yeah, one of his parents wasn't Chandrillan, so they just
there was
one
like
of his
a bit of a
parents had
scandal.
Gorman connections too.
Yeah. So yeah, that was cool to see. The moment where they crush the listening device and they cut to that creepy room where like all the ISB agents are just like listening to all kinds of stuff. That was cool. I was listening to Blast Point's podcast and they mentioned that felt very THX.
Yeah.
Because I haven't seen that still and I need to, but that's always a fun parallel to point out.
It did have that vibe. I love that room is just like a random conference room somewhere in London.
Yeah.
Where's the most fascist conference room we can find?
It would be really fun to scout locations for a show like this.
Oh yeah. I mean,
I love brutalist architecture, so like all of the Imperial buildings are like, I love the look of them so much, and it makes me very happy, but also it fits that aesthetic so well.
Yeah.
I forget what they said it was, but that like art center that they use outside of the Senate, that bridge with all the white stuff. I'm like, yeah, that's such a cool location, and it feels very Star Warsy, at least to me. I mean, people in London are probably like, oh, it's right there.
That's true.
But we get back to the safe house. This is where we can talk about like the Rebels connections, where I think it all lines up just fine. I've definitely seen some confusion about it, but what are how do we feel about them rewriting the story and kind of taking Cassian out of it?
How so?
But the fact that they want this to seem a little more we didn't send an assassin in to kill two people and get her out. Like, no, she was rescued by Gold Squadron.
Oh, right.
I will say, I think it makes a lot of sense tactically because they do use Cassian so often in secretive missions that having him be involved, even if he's not necessarily seen, would get the wrong people looking into who is this person that came here, and then it would connect too closely. And he's also at this point been running off and doing his own thing, which I think is kind of putting him in a bad spot to be the face of any sort of major rescue mission. So to me, it makes perfect sense. My super controversial opinion is I don't care that much about Rebels. But I was still happy that they found a way to make that still work more or less.
Yeah. I care a lot about Rebels. I don't so much care about making every little thing work, because that feels contrary to what we're trying to make art here. And I don't want to restrict someone like Tony Gilroy because an animated show from 10 years ago said something, so it doesn't bug me at all. But you're right, like Draven has Cassian on his radar and he's kind of like, he's a little shifty. But then if we look forward to Rogue One, he's introduced as Rebel Intelligence. And so like they want to keep him in a place where, he's not going to be the face of anything.
Mm-hmm.
I think Draven actually looked a little apologetic when he came back.
Yeah, that little offer to be like, you want to go watch the speech in the office?
You want to go hang out?
Oh,
bye.
Yeah, I also don't think Cassian cares at all. I don't think he wanted the credit or anything.
He's never been in it for the glory.
Right.
Mm-mm.
Not like Dedra.
Especially working with like Luthen, you can't be in it for the glory. All of that's off the books.
Yeah.
But I really liked everything that they did plenty to me to say like another ship is coming. She's going to make another speech. And I know like some people have been guessing that the second speech is the hologram that she delivers in Rebels that like Zeb and Ezra and Hera watch.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that. I think they're referring to the big Dantooine speech where all the ships come. I think that the hologram is meant to be her Senate speech. And it's like, the words are different. She's not wearing her blue robes. It's fine. Like, those are the details that I can look past.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I saw somebody today talking about, either it was from an interview that Dan Gilroy did, or it was from the talk last night in New York, but that he had planned for her to like go back to Chandrilla and like have a conversation with her daughter and with Perrin. And there was like other steps along the way to get her to where she needed to be, but it was like too much. It would drag on too much. So I am curious, like, those steps along the way would have gotten her into like the right outfit and set up.
Yeah.
Home to Chandrilla, she could have changed into whatever she's, wearing when she gives the speech. So
yeah.
I mean, there's obviously a gap there that if somebody wants to write an additional story or something, there's space.
That's true.
I would be very curious to know, Lita and Perrin and their thoughts on all of this.
The first time we watched these episodes, I was like, where is Perrin? Are they going to show him before she just goes off to Yavin?
Yeah.
So,
especially since he was being her big ally there when they were dealing with Ben Mendelsohn.
Yeah. Krennic, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I would not have minded getting like a little check-in with her family before she wound up leaving, just to maybe show that it's like, they're definitely not worth staying for or something.
Yeah, it is. I agree with Samuel in chat. It is weird that we miss Perrin, but it was kind of like we got like a little glimpse of, oh, maybe he could turn this around and make up for some of the bad stuff that he's done. So
it's like, I wouldn't even say he's done bad stuff. He's just done nothing.
Yeah, he's just like
he said some annoying things, but
he's I mean, he's manipulated a lot of situations, but
and I mean, Mon saw his use. I mean, he was good. What is it? It's in, I think, Mask of Fear, where she talks about that he's like good at doing the rubbing elbow stuff and getting people to talk. So he served.
I still need to read that.
Oh, it's so good.
In season 1, I think they said that he used to be a real firebrand, and like I guess he just stopped caring. But
he got a comfortable life, and he's like, this is comfortable and easy, and I like this.
I'm just gonna keep searching for joy.
He's a live, laugh, love kind of guy.
He's definitely got. He keeps putting up that sign, and Mon keeps taking it down. Like
somewhere in that gorgeous house is a live, laugh, love sign in Arabesh.
We need to make that.
Yeah, that's actually a great idea, Molly.
I need that on a t-shirt.
Honestly, yeah, just like having something in Arabesh that some nerd like me would read and be like, "Oh, come on." That's what it says.
Oh my god.
Well, we've, I think, talked about just about everything in these episodes. Maggie, before we let you go, is there anything else we did not touch on that you wanted to?
I can't think of anything else.
Did we see? We barely saw Clea.
Yeah, well, she had that great moment with Cassian talking about
That's
having agency to make decisions, which I thought was good. I love her.
Oh yeah.
I love that she is so much more of a boss babe than Luthen is, really.
Oh yeah.
Running things. I love her.
So satisfying to get to see more of her in this season.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was a great scene of him being like, "It's time for me to make my own decisions," and she's like, "That's what we're fighting for, moron."
Yeah, she's like, cute. Okay.
I also love that we have her hair down more, because when she's in the gallery, her hair is so like tightly wound up and stuff, and I love that she's seeing different looks for her when she's out and about doing stuff.
Yeah.
I'm always looking at those little like costume and hair and makeup details and wondering what it's speaking to, what the character is feeling at the time.
Yeah, I think that came up in Kyle's interview about just Cyril's look starting out like so rigid, and then he gets a little looser and comfy looking.
He gets away from that structure.
Mhm.
And he has to fit in with the Gorman, so it grows a little longer, but then he's probably enjoying it and it like actually does want to grow it longer. So
Because his mom probably was like, you have to keep your hair this short at all times, just in case you get recruited.
She's probably like, you're looking like a hippie. Cut your hair.
You and your brown suits.
Oh.
Well, thank you, Maggie, for hopping on and talking about Andor with us.
Yeah.
This is great. Yeah. What a great batch of episodes to get to talk about too.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what we didn't talk about? We didn't talk about Bix and her farewell message, really.
Yeah.
Oh,
we did touch on it, but yeah, like
It was really
that is
sad.
the end of the episodes.
Yeah.
It was, I mean, it was hard to watch. Like, we kind of saw it coming, but yeah, seeing like Cassian's reaction to it and just hearing her words, that was emotional.
Yeah. Realizing him running in the trailers was him running for Bix.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was a great moment. That moment made me sob hysterically for like an hour. I really like Bix. I really like her story a lot. And I love that relationship. I love that we actually got to see a relationship in Star Wars play out. So often we only get like a few little moments. Like obviously Han and Leia, I would say, is probably one of the better developed relationships, but we miss so much of it. Most of it is relegated to the page, which is great. And we've gotten a lot of really great stories for them. But getting to see the relationship from start to finish basically meant a lot. And I really, really enjoyed that, even if it hurt me greatly.
Yeah.
Just how I look at Rogue One.
I do wish she had a little bit more to do.
Yeah.
But because I know when we first watched these episodes, I was like, what? She's leaving? Like, I wanted more for her character, but like, she's nowhere to be found in Rogue One. So I knew at some point they were going to have to explain why that is. And so I was kind of waiting for that moment. But she did a lot of kind of hanging back, sitting around. I mean, she did have a lot of internal work to do. And so I think it's good to show that you need to take time off in order to do that. But I just wanted to see her do more cool stuff.
Yeah, I wanted to see her blow up more terrible men.
We all loved that. God, that was such a great revenge moment.
Such a great moment. I'm sad that they like technically spoiled it in the trailer, because it is all like, it's a hero shot. Like you want to put that in your trailer. But what a great moment. And it does like give me hope that we might get like comics or stories about her down the line. I think Bix is the one character that the time jumps hurt the most, because there is so much more that she was probably doing and helping with, but it's all kind of relegated to like little references. And
yeah, especially in this arc, because seeing her in the last arc, like she's taking drugs and she's really depressed, so depressed that she's watching that awful daytime correspondent show, which we've all been there. And then we see her in this arc, and she seems happy again. They've got
Mhm.
a similar kind of setup to what they had in Mina Rao, and I love that house because there's all these little touches of Ferrex in there,
Mhm.
and she seems happy and more comfortable.
And I loved seeing them keeping their culture alive. That was something I thought was such a neat addition, that they're truly Phyrexians until the end.
Mhm.
But
That
yeah,
little stone and sky between Willman and Cassian was great.
Mhm.
yes.
The show's good.
It's so good.
I'm just gonna say it.
It's pretty good.
I'm going to say
There's-
something controversial.
Yeah.
There's just so much to talk about too.
I know. And we spent an hour and a half doing it.
Yeah. Well, thanks again, Maggie.
Yes.
Where can people follow you and find you, and anything you want to plug or tease coming up?
Yes. So you can find me on Twitter at Maggie of the Town. I'm the Maggie Lovitt over on Instagram. You can find me on Collider. I do my Andor recaps, all 3 episodes. Every episode drop, or the day that they all drop. I have a really good interview coming out next week with Diego and Audria about. It was from the beginning of the first junket, but I smartly asked spoiler questions for the last 2 batches of episodes so that I could launch it at the end. But then down the line, I'm going to have a longer form interview with Diego that I'm really excited about as well. So watch the space for lots of Star Wars stuff. And I have a really fun Star Wars publishing thing being announced soon that we got an exclusive on. So
Ooh.
Nice.
yes.
Yeah, you did a great job moderating the publishing panel too.
Thank you.
I forgot we were there.
Japan feels
That
like
whole
a
weekend was just like
Such a blur.
I still have jet lag from that, and I'm setting off to London next week to get more jet lag. So
oh, great. Well, have fun. I
Yes,
can't
thank
wait
you.
to read the interviews. The link to the Kyle one again is in the description, so everyone should go check that out and read it, because it is a really fun and insightful read.
Yeah.
But
Excellent.
we'll let you go enjoy the rest of your night.
yes, thank you both.
See you, Maggie.
Bye.
And we are gonna hang out, answer some questions. There are a lot here, so we're gonna dive in and just go nuts, I guess.
I saw them come in. We got some really good ones, so I'm excited to go into these. I did at the very last minute think of one more thing, but I'm sure there's maybe someone will bring it up in a question. But a lot of people were confused by that moment with the blaster and Vel.
Oh yeah, like why she recognized it.
Yeah, and that was a great connection. I thought
Yeah,
that
I did too.
Vel recognizes this blaster, which is from the
It's Cyril's
police.
blaster.
Yeah, it's from the police force on Morlana. And Vel recognized it because she saw Cassian with it on Aldani, and now it's here, and she's like, wait, how is this here? And then that's how we see Melshi is there. And I was just like, yeah, I love
because he gave it to
Melshi.
Melshi when they escaped Narkina 5. So yeah, like fun, very fun connection with that.
I love that Vel is on Yavin. I was very excited to see her still in the mix, and then that was just a fun way to connect Melshi and show that he's there too.
It's also kind of rad that Cyril's blaster is now with the rebellion. That's fun.
Mhm. I'm gonna run downstairs and cough a lot because I've been coughing and I just need to get it out.
Okay.
I'll be back.
Okay, I'm gonna dive in. First we got David Canyo. Thanks so much for the super chat and the nice message. Consider this a massive thank you for Alex for taking an open, no bullshit attitude to the no politics in my Star Wars crowd in the latest vid. I don't see how it's possible to talk about Andor without being very, very overt about what it's saying. So yeah, I oh, hold on. Sure. Whatever you're getting. Molly's going to go cough and get us some relaxing drinks. But yeah, like we got a lot of very nice, I don't know, feedback, comments, text messages about that video, which I've seen a lot of people posting in the chat here too. So thank you. I worked really hard on it. I thought really, fortunately, we did get the screeners for this. Otherwise, I don't know how I would have covered this show because it took me like a day to write about every single episode. And then I had to shoot it and edit it. But it just speaks so much to like what Star Wars has always been about. And it seemed like the perfect storm of just like Andor and current events and what George has always wanted to teach us. So yeah, I'm glad people liked what I had to say. Dean says, wow, there were a lot of very important things to discuss, but a supremely important question has yet to be answered. What is a Cali cooler and where can I get one? I hear they're amazing. I do genuinely hope that someone, I think, that sometimes they put recipes out on like StarWars.com, or maybe in the next recipe book they put out. I would love a Cali cooler recipe because I still like drinking Port in the Storm. That was a drink that was first created for Bloodlines by Claudia Gray, and they put it in a recipe book, and it's genuinely great. So yeah, I'd love to know what a Cali cooler is. Gary24 fan, thank you so much. An amazing arc this week, and Alex, your latest video about truth and the consequences of losing it was needed, whether people agree with it or not. I actually haven't seen a whole lot of people disagreeing, so that's comforting. But thank you, Gary. Bill Rooklyn, thanks for the question. Did the Force Healer hint or indicate that Biggs is pregnant, or is that just me? That's not something that I thought about. I'll look in chat to see if anyone agrees, but I did not pick up on that. She definitely, I think the Force Healer was just like, I don't know where, Cassian is meant to be, how he is meant to be a messenger. Maybe he's meant to be with you. Like, I think that was just her kind of taking a couple guesses. MC Lego Boy says that one shot of the hands makes me think they might be hinting that. Now I need to go back and rewatch the scene. Kalinstagram says, nah, not pregnant. Ian Sharps asks whether a hand on her stomach. I don't know. I'll have to go back and check it. It was just like them holding hands. But yeah, I do not know. Dean, thank you for another one. It's wild to consider that Luthen would have probably sent Cinta for Dedra if she hadn't died. Yeah, that does seem like a Cinta job for sure. She was like the assassin, it seems like, the most cold-hearted. But at that point, I do not think, had Cinta survived, I don't think she would have continued to work for Luthen in that way. I think that she was committed to going with Vel wherever Vel was going to go. So I do wonder who Luthen would have reached out to, because I guess Willman couldn't have done it. Or maybe he did ask Willman, hey, will you do this? And Willman was like, I'm going to go get Cassian. That seems like more of his bag. Scotty Heron, thank you so much for the next super chat. Wanted to say right out from the outset that Alex, your review for these episodes, and especially the part y'all clipped today, was absolutely fire. Thank you. Like I said, I've been kind of categorizing the Clone Wars morals, and I just had them all ready to go, and they were like fresh in my mind. And so I was like, I am going to use the Clone Wars. I'm going to use Star Wars to talk about exactly what Star Wars has always said, and back up my argument with exactly what George wanted his show to teach. So thank you. And Scotty also said, I really don't mind the recast of Bale. I think Benjamin Bratt was great. I fully agree. I think Benjamin Bratt did a great job. there's I think gonna always be a part of me that's just sad for Jimmy Smits, but I know that it's just a cast or a scheduling thing. It is what it is. That's how productions go sometimes. So I love Jimmy Smits too, but I think Benjamin Bratt has done a wonderful job. Welcome back.
I'm back. Hopefully I got all my coughs out.
This is an interesting question from Aaron Garner. Does Mon Mothma know that Palpatine is a Sith?
No.
Who does at this point in the galaxy or rebellion?
I think a smart person could tell that he's just a bad guy.
I don't know. Like, Bail Organa certainly knows. Whether or not he spread that information. But I also, like, at this point, the Sith to the galaxy at large is a 1,000-year extinct religion. So I don't know that it matters to Mon. Like, Bail may have been like, hey, by the way, the Emperor's a Sith Lord. And she'd be like, okay, like,
yeah,
I don't need to know why he sucks.
That's interesting because, like, the most of the work that Palpatine does is, like, during the prequel era and the Clone Wars. We're seeing the product of his work now. And so all you really have to see is the Empire and what the Imperials are doing around you. And you could tell, like, whoever is in charge and whoever's idea this was, it's not it.
Not a great guy.
Yeah. And, like, they used all this propaganda to, like, make him look like a good guy. And you were talking about how they, like, altered the way he looked to make him look more normal. So yeah, I don't even know, like, how much he is actually out and about and, like, doing public speaking and all that.
Not a lot.
But yeah, I didn't think about Bail maybe telling Mon, but I always just assumed she didn't know he was a Sith. But at this point, it doesn't matter who he is. This is all the product of his work, and now it's spread way further than him.
Yeah, like, we're at the point where Palpatine is, as far as the Empire goes, like, mostly he's just letting that stuff go. Like, he's got his system set in place.
Mm-hmm.
All he's concerned about is, like, okay, now how do I do this forever? So he's trying to figure out immortality.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, the Empire and the Sith, they follow a lot of the same structure and rules. Sith rule of 2 is, like, it's very competitive by nature. It's survival of the fittest, and my apprentice has to try to kill me to prove that he's stronger and more powerful. And then, like, the Empire very much works that way too. The ISB is like, we don't really help each other, to the point where Legret and Hirt are, like, shocked when Lonnie helps them out. They're like, oh my goodness, thank you. Like, is this what it feels like to have a friend?
Right.
Like,
it's like every man for themselves.
Yeah. But
and that's another reason why Dedra fits in so well, because her telling the story about growing up in this kinder block, she was, like, basically raised to be the perfect Imperial. And so, like, all that stuff goes right along with her and her upbringing. I think goes well together.
I didn't see this one earlier, but it's connected to Scotty's other super chats. But thank you. But man, I really do wish we got to hear Jimmy Smits tell Mon to tear the shit out of this place.
Tear it up, girl. Get it.
Slay.
Where's all the fans? He should have been flapping his fan. I did want to point out, I was wondering when this was going to come up, the whiteboard drawings.
We talked about it, but Andor's not really the kind of show.
It's just not. We can't do. I mean, we can, but
I think we did for season 1.
I think it's better that we just like, because there is so much to talk about and we have to cover 3 episodes at a time, there's just no time to talk about drawings.
Yeah.
And I still have my drawing from the end of Skeleton Crew on mine.
That might be on there for good.
I
I don't even
know.
know where my whiteboard is now.
Every week my drawing would be the same. It would be a sad face.
That's again.
It would get sadder.
Here's a sad face with a gun.
Yeah.
St. Morris, thank you so much for the super chat. Love Star Wars Explained and love Andor. In episode 1, I was so stoked to see Montserrat, a filming location I visited a few years ago near Barcelona. I think that's the Chandrilla location. I think the wedding gift statue is an homage to Montserrat's Black Madonna. I don't know what that is, so I'm going to look it up. But I wouldn't be surprised if it had some sort of historical relevance, because that seems to be Tony Gilroy's MO. Like, he knows his history, so he probably did bring something real into this.
Is there a reason why you skipped the super chats before this one? Were you saving those?
I don't see any above this one.
Oh, I see a bunch. Or did you already read these?
Are you in StreamYard?
Yeah. Did you unstar them?
Yeah.
Huh. They're still showing up for me.
Well, I'm trying to read about the Black Madonna.
Okay.
I don't know if that... Oh, there's the history of it, but it may have been a sculpture that was taken and returned. But I'll look into that later.
Yeah, something for art history fans to look into.
What's up, Brian Kimmett? And thank you so much for the very generous super chat. Ben Bratt was fantastic this episode. This whole arc is some of the very best Star Wars I've ever seen. I hope we see Perrin and Lita next week to learn how Mon's speech impacted them. Yeah, I really wish that we had cut to more people. Like, we got to see Cloris's reaction to some of her speech. I would have loved to cut to Perrin, like, sitting at home in his bathrobe, like, wait, what? What's happening?
Him just like spitting out his drink, doing a spit take, and being like, "Oh no, I'm not going to get invited to any more parties."
Right.
But yes, thank you so much, Brian. Very generous.
Thank you, Samuel Rogers, for the next one. Umberto Eco wrote in his essay Ur-Fascism about how fascists portray their enemies as both strong and weak. Imperial propaganda portray the Gormans as both shallow and self-absorbed people, but also dangerous terrorists. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you see that today.
You see it all the time. It's like whoever's trying to oppress someone else, they're always going to do whatever works best for them in any given situation. They're going to play the victim when they need to, and then they're going to make the other person look like the bully.
Yep.
Or when they're trying to assert dominance.
It's this weird, like, I don't even want to call it balance. Like, it's just hypocritical of being like, yeah, look at these people. You should be terrified of them. They're coming to change your way of life, and they'll affect everything about how you live. But also, like, we're stronger than them, so don't worry.
Right.
Like, it makes no sense.
It's a very strange thing that I'm always shocked when people buy into it.
Mm-hmm. But that's, yeah, the whole fear thing. Like, that's kind of what I was trying to get at. I think hopefully I conveyed that. But like, if anyone, if it's media or your government or any group is trying to tell you, you should be afraid of this group, like, ask what they're getting out of that. Like, why do they want you to be afraid? Is it a real threat, or are they trying to make you politically scared? Are they just trying to make money? Like, there's so many reasons for people to just be like, you should be afraid of them and
Yeah.
angry at them.
Yeah, you should always be asking, what's their angle? What are they getting out of convincing me to be afraid? Yeah.
What's up, PLD? Thanks so much for the super chat. Alex, your review was your own personal Mon Mothma moment. I wouldn't go that far.
I saw a lot of people comment the same thing.
It deserved its own Britella Roberts score. Kudos. Hi, Molly and Maggie.
Thanks, PLD.
Half of my speech was just like pulling from Clone Wars, so I didn't write. I gathered information.
Take your moment to shine bright. That
Twinkle,
sounded
twinkle,
really
little star.
That sounded really stupid. But
it made me think of Ann Perkins.
the older I get, the more I have learned to accept compliments and accept praise when it comes, because a lot of times I'll just like, yeah, whatever. But we see so many negative comments that when we get flooded with good ones, we should celebrate it.
It was nice. And thank you, PLD.
Yeah.
Cassia Pipe says, after Bix's teasing back in episode 1, Will finally got a girlfriend. I like that. You liked that so much, you threw your hands up.
I did a thing.
All jokes aside, this arc was powerful and real in an already very real show. Thank you guys for not diminishing its politics. You're welcome. A+ joke. That made me laugh.
Girlfriend. It's like kind of hard to say. But
between
I like
that and Brasso, the French Brasso, I saw that earlier today and I was like, that's really funny.
With the EAUX, is that what it is? The spelling?
At least an EAU. Brasso.
Yeah.
I do love Lazine though. He's great.
I was about to do a terrible French accent. I'm not gonna.
Draco Eris, thanks so much for another very generous super chat. The snippet of Mon's speech in Rebels can be her redoing and including the ending that was cut off when she was in the Senate chamber. If you put them back to back, they kind of fit. I kind of touched on this. I'm also, my video tomorrow is all about this. I just think that the hologram in Rebels is meant to be like, it's the gist. It's the words are different. It's the same message. Rebels is a 22-minute show. They needed to very quickly get the point across that like Mon Mothma said something quote unquote treasonous to the Emperor. That's it. Like the next time you watch Secret Cargo, just pretend that she is saying the monster that will come for us all is an Emperor Palpatine. Like that's how I'm viewing it.
Yeah. Ask yourself what's the better, I don't want to say, I mean, I do want to say better, but which episode is better? Secret Cargo or episode 9 of Andor?
Well, as far as the speech goes, like the speech in Rebels is just meant to like help set up the actual story, whereas the speech in Andor is like that's kind of the climax. That's what we're building to.
Yeah, it needs to be big.
Yeah. And it's the same speech, just not like literally, but you know, metaphorically. We're passing down these stories from a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Not all the details are going to be exactly right. So when whoever told us Star Wars Rebels, they were like, and then Mon Mothma said a speech condemning Emperor Palpatine. Like that's the Star Wars Rebels version of the story. But we've got our Andor version of the story, and that's like, to me, the real speech.
Not only was this a huge climactic moment for the episode and arc as a whole, for Genevieve O'Reilly playing Mon Mothma, like this was her big moment of this arc. So it really needed to be good.
Yeah. And I like Nathan Troxel says, I like that Mon's speech is a nod to Rebels and its own thing. Yeah, they did not change the spirit of the speech. They just made it more intense and better.
Did you talk at all about our similar headcanon for that? Where it was altered?
Oh, yeah. So in my video tomorrow, I just throw out the idea that if it really bugs you that it doesn't fully line up, it is canon that Palpatine had his appearance changed in the Senate. Like in his rare appearances, Star Wars Rebels said, like they doctor his appearance. So who's to say whether or not that is the real speech being transmitted?
Yeah.
Like the Empire knows that it did get broadcast, it got out. So now they're trying to get in front of it and be like, oh, this is what she really said, and it was treasonous. It was bad. Like, don't talk like this, but they may have toned it down a little bit. Maybe she's not wearing the blue coat. Like that can not only what's the word I'm looking for? Account for the differences, but also it lines up with the death of truth. Like
Right.
it works on several levels.
The Empire was so frustrated that they couldn't cut the feed when she was giving the speech live that it makes total sense that as soon as they do cut the feed, they're taking it down everywhere they can, and they got their best editor in there trying to alter it. Yeah.
The Empire would deep fake the news. Yeah, that's a nice way to put it. I like that.
But yeah, I like that also as just if you really need more headcanon, that's a good one.
And I'll just say a quick hey to Ken Plume. Thanks so much. About to record, but wanted to swing by with some love to you both for all you do. Thanks, Ken.
Thanks, Ken.
Have fun recording. Light Blinded Fool. Thank you so much for the next super chat. Says Dedra was upset about Cyril, and then she remembered she never has to see his mom again.
Like she doesn't have to deal with Edie.
Dedra. For some reason, I swapped Dedra and Edie in my mind. Those were tears of joy when she's like pulling at her uniform. She's like, oh, I never have to see Edie again.
I think she had a little bit of fun though, bossing Edie around.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think any Imperial would love to wield whatever power they have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do think like a good chunk of the performance of Dedra, some of that has to be relief and just like happiness. Like some of it has to be her feeling a little bit justified, and
that's interesting because that you and Maggie went that direction and I did not. Like I thought that maybe she actually was kind of like, what did I do? What was I a part of? Even if she is fully with the Empire, I feel like that would be a lot to witness. And also, I just got my boyfriend killed. Like he does go out in the crowd and she's like, get him back here. Like,
yeah,
I do think that she cared about Cyril at least a little bit. So maybe those are tears for Cyril. Maybe they're tears for just like, that's more than I ever thought I would have to do.
I think part of it is her realizing she can't have both. She can't have the fame and glory and of the Empire and like successfully doing the things for the Empire that she's doing and have a stable, what she thought was maybe stable relationship and kind of like a connection to someone outside of work. So yeah, definitely there was a part of her that was sad that Cyril ended up in all the mess because she was trying to like get him out. But there's probably so many things going through her mind, but like seeing her talk with Partagaz and Partagaz just mentioning, like reminding her about the promotions and like that, I forget what he says. He said something specific about how we're going to be good after this.
The only line I really super remember from him is, you seem animated. That's another, like, just...
I love when he tells people to calm down.
Calibrate your enthusiasm. You seem animated.
Pump the brakes.
He's so great.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I keep saying, he's a monster, but I love watching Anton Lesser play this role.
He's a great, like, middleman kind of character, because he gets to boss people around, but people are bossing him around, and he's so disconnected from it all. He can say stuff like "Bad luck, Gorman."
Yeah. If we ever go back and watch like all of Game of Thrones, I feel like I'm gonna enjoy the later seasons even more because I'll be like, at least Qyburn's here. Like, at least I get to watch Anton Lesser be crazy.
Yeah.
Booze, thanks for the next question, says, is Bix leaving Cassian in line with Rose saving Finn? Like saving what we love? Like that?
Like, so when Finn thinks that his big hero moment is to sacrifice himself to take out that big, I forget what it's called, on Crate.
The battering ram cannon.
Yeah. It could be, I could see that connection, because Bix knows if she stays, Cassian will want to quit and keep wanting to quit. So in order to allow Cassian to live out his full potential, she has to leave.
I guess I don't see her, the kind of the opposite side of that is fighting what she hates versus saving what you love. I see this as a different situation where the moral doesn't fit.
That line doesn't fit.
Yeah. Like, I think Bix is choosing the rebellion. I think she knows, yes, that Cassian has a destiny. And I think she knows it's not her. When, like Molly, you said this, but when the Force healer asked, maybe he's meant to be with you. I think you're right when she's like,
yeah,
it's not that. That's not like the dreams I've been having.
Right. Part of it makes sense to me, but then when you bring that quote into it, it doesn't really work out.
Thanks for another super chat, Cassia. Draven said Cassian's mission, Cassia and Cassian, that's interesting, would not be logged. The K-Toot comic could be another cover story to explain why there is suddenly a KX droid on Yavin now. Yep.
Yep.
That is my current headcanon. Thanks to, I saw that on Reddit first, but I think that is a great explanation to why this comic is being set aside. Yeah. I don't think that was Tony Gilroy's intent or anything, but it's fun for me.
They could use it down the road if we get any expanded stories. They could do what they did with Fest and Kanari.
Yeah.
So
Brian Autumn, thank you for this one, says Clea stole every scene she was in for me. #mommy.
I like how you said mommy.
Mommy.
Yeah, I love Clea. I understand why she wasn't in these episodes as much, but she's been great this season so far.
Yeah, she's awesome. I loved her in Arc 2, stealing the bug out of the art piece. Great. Lord Hosk says, last week was 3 BBY. This week was 2 BBY. Is something coming?
What's BBY?
It's almost like we're baby. 3 baby, 2 baby.
Yeah,
it's like we're counting down to something.
Something big is going to happen.
And it's counting down too fast, is what I say.
Mm.
It's going by too quick.
Yeah.
What's up, Ihaja says, who are you is first asked by the Force healer. I don't think I caught that.
Oh, is that what she says?
I think she does.
She says, I thought she said, like, do I know you? But
I don't remember.
It's essentially, I guess, the same idea.
I'm going to trust Ihaja because we watched these. So we got the screeners and
I did just watch this scene earlier, but.
Oh, okay. So your memory is just garbage. But
probably, yeah, for sure.
Like we watched the screeners and then I watched them again, like as they were coming back out to prep my reviews and stuff. So I have not watched it since it actually came out. But and we also like we don't get to see the episode titles until they come out. So it is interesting to know that and like to have that on the head.
Yeah. I'm looking at the scene now.
But that's cool.
But it's something this show has done really, really well, and this season in particular, with showing different characters saying the same lines and showing how different or similar they can be depending on the character arc.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, she does say, "Who are you?"
Cool.
So,
That's great. I love that.
Yeah.
Because obviously, when I saw what the episode title was, I was like, "Oh, nice!" Just thinking straight to Cyril, but that is cool.
That's definitely the version of the line that sticks with you more.
Yeah. Calm like a bomb. Thanks for being a member of the 603rd. How did Tony get that past the mouse, the massacre, the speech? How is he going to top that for the finale?
I think the mouse knows how well reviewed this show is and how well it has done for Disney Plus. So they're like, yeah, all right.
Yeah, I don't think the mouse actually cares. Like, if it's going to make them money, they're like, yeah, great.
Yeah.
Which apparently Andor has brought in like 300,000 subscribers or something.
It also, it does feel like kind of like it is about money first and foremost, but it's also feels like something where Disney could be like, we're progressive. Look at Andor. Look at what we allowed Andor to do.
Look at what we allowed.
Right. Yeah. Meanwhile, they're getting rid of the DEI program and yeah.
The last progressive thing that they do. We'll see.
Mm.
Steve Davis III says, great to see Maggie on here. I met her years ago working on the set of The Walking Dead WB? WD TWD WB.
Is that the spinoff?
I'm trying to remember all my Walking Dead lore from back in the day. But awesome to see your work at Collider take off like it has. I'm sorry I did not see this and bring it up when Maggie was here. Sorry, Steve.
I will.
Yeah, we'll send that
along
to Maggie. And now I'm trying to remember which Walking Dead that was, but
I'll look it up later.
What's up, John Lang? Says
World Beyond.
World Beyond. I don't even know what that is.
Is that?
I'm so behind on my Walking Dead.
The game? Or like, it looks animated.
I don't know. I don't know.
It doesn't matter.
John says, was just about to ask about getting books and comics to fill in the gaps when Molly mentioned it.
I mean, they are leaving plenty
There's
of
plenty
gaps.
of room.
And the whole show of Andor is bridging a gap. So
we're getting 2 more books in the Reign of the Empire trilogy. And I kind of expect that they will. The first book did not bring Luthen into it, but I think the second and third probably will.
Oh, yeah.
I think that they're going to start to use those books to maybe fill in some gaps, more on the larger side of things with Bail and Mothma. But they could certainly just keep on pumping out Cassian stuff.
Yeah.
Scotty Heron says, book series with Alexander Freed filling in the gaps of Andor's time jump. Or would a different author be even better? Charles Soule or Claudia Gray? Having read Mask of Fear, I would love it if they just kept Alexander Freed coming. Like, he really knows this. He's a military sci-fi guy. He writes more grounded Star Wars stories, and he still knows how to bring the Force into it without it taking over. Just like the Force healer here. I remember in Shadowfall, the second Alphabet Squadron book, there's like some crazy Force stuff. Oh, the first Alphabet Squadron has like some fun Force stuff too, but it doesn't overwhelm the story. It makes sense for what is happening with these other characters who don't really understand the Force. So I would love it for Alexander Freed to keep just writing Andor stories.
Yeah. I keep telling myself I'm going to read Mask of Fear, and I'm going to do it because I love Andor so much, and because there's 2 more coming out, but I've got time before the sequels start coming.
I think they timed that pretty well to like, let's put out 1 book now that doesn't really involve Luthen, and then Andor will be over. And then we can like just write Luthen in a bunch of stuff and dive into things. I think that's great.
Yeah.
Haja, thank you for another super chat. It says another Brasso French link. The arm gesture seems like a version of the French arm of honor, an obscene gesture to express contempt. I definitely got that. Flipping Le Bird du Gore. This is the way.
Le Bird.
I saw someone, I don't know if this is right or not, but someone saw that as if it was like crushing a spider on your arm. Which,
but they wouldn't crush a spider.
Yeah, but maybe that's why it's an obscene gesture.
Oh,
I hate this spider so much that I'm willing to crush it. I don't know. John Lang also says hearing Bale use a curse word as a form of encouragement was chef's kiss.
Yeah, it was maybe my 2nd or 3rd watch that I realized he had said shit. And I was like, yeah.
The fact that I think Tony got like, we're going to get 1 under the breath shit in Andor season 1. We're going to get Mosk to say it. And then when we come to season 2, we're going to ask for 2.
We're going to get a couple.
2 shits.
Is there 3?
In the very first episode when Cassian hits the ship, it goes in reverse.
Yeah, But is there another one?
Yeah, we just named all 3.
Oh,
there's one in season 1, and
no,
2 in season.
I thought there was 3 in season 2. It doesn't
so.
matter. It doesn't matter.
This is why these streams take so long.
Yeah.
Was Phoebe there? Anyway. Bones McCoy, thank you for the very generous super chat. A few Andor connections from my teary-eyed Secret Cargo rewatch. Gold 3 blames the Ghost crew for the Empire tightening its grip after their attacks on Lothal. This old-fashioned might have been a mistake. I'm trying my best to read.
You want me to read some?
I'll finish these and then we'll take turns. Gold 3 blames the Ghost crew for the Empire tightening its grip after their attacks on Lothal and Tarkin's ISD. Mon had heard of young Mr. Bridger. I thought the dialogue about her going with Gold Squadron was wrong, but she only joined the Ghost after Gold Squad's transport was destroyed. Yes. That's how I remembered that it was kind of like an emergency for them to be boarding the Ghost. I think they were there with like fuel or something, but the Empire, I mean, I love that the Empire just keeps chasing them.
Yeah.
That Mon Mothma does not get away clean and that it takes a lot to get her to safety. Like, that's so awesome.
I watched Secret Cargo a while back. It was before we got the screeners, and I feel like I should watch it again. Like that and Rogue One, I cannot wait to rewatch.
Yeah, we still have not rewatched Rogue One. We're going to do that next week, and I plan on doing a video about just that. What is the experience like now?
Yeah. All right. Samuel Rogers has the next one. I loved that Mon Mothma's speech clearly called what happened on Gorman a genocide. So many ongoing genocides like Gaza are not referred to as such, which is a form of complicity. 100% true.
Yeah, like the mincing of words, it's just like, why?
Call it what it is. I'm glad that they said genocide. Like, that is meaningful and poignant, and it's what it is.
It reminds me of, honestly, like maybe we just keep quoting Parks and Rec, so it's on my mind. But like when they're doing the political debate, and Bobby Newport says he's asked about abortion, and he's like, my opinion is like, why can't we all just have a good time?
Yeah, he
It's
just
like-
kind of like goes right over his head.
when people don't want to acknowledge something for what it really is, or like a true situation and the full reality of it, that's how it comes off. And
That's why I don't watch the debates anymore. There's no point. They're not saying anything. It's all double speak.
and like they're pointless because no one cared about the insanity of the last debate, I guess.
Yeah.
Still got that shithead elected.
There's been studies done on how to answer questions without answering them, and like how double speak works, and like you can get away with a lot. Like you can make it sound like you're giving an answer, and you're it's just empty words, and it's so weird to see.
But yes, I'm happy that Mon Mothma didn't go up there and mince words. She called it what it was. And also, yes, I'm glad that Disney let them do that and use the word genocide.
Mm-hmm.
Dean, thank you for another one. I've read about this today. That's something else about Andor, is that like I feel like it gets me to learn about real world things that I did not know about. But this is a sad one. The Tlatelolco massacre of 1968 in Mexico seems very much like the inspiration for how the Gorman massacre was executed. Gilroy did his homework. Our friend Rick Villanueva from Jammed Transmissions podcast did a thread all about this on Blue Sky if you want to learn a little more. But yeah, like same deal. Student protesters came into a plaza. Snipers were positioned to make it seem like the student protesters were taking the first shots, and like hundreds of people were killed. Like, yeah, it sounds like the same thing.
Yeah. I saw a lot of comments on the review video mentioning that too.
But
it makes sense for Tony Gilroy to bring part of that history into it.
And yeah, also like that may have been some of Diego's doing.
Yeah.
I mean, he's also a big political activist. And if
he's an executive producer on this?
I mean, he has a lot of say in the show. And I mean, he's a very prominent political activist for Mexico, but also like if you haven't seen his Jimmy Kimmel interview from a couple weeks ago, it's rad.
I still need to watch that, but I remember you telling me about that, and I was like, "Ooh, yes!"
Yeah,
get it, Diego.
Oh, and no surprise, the CIA was involved. Okay, like,
yeah.
But your turn.
My turn. See, I'm confused now because the one that you just read was like up higher than mine. I think our lists are different. Let me see. Is the next one Scotty? Okay. Scotty Heron, thank you for another super chat. A different Reddit idea I saw was that the comic happened before this K2 was damaged, so Cassian grabbing his body was him getting spare parts to repair K2 and replace the ones the other one's Cortex with K2s. That is a pretty convoluted workaround.
I will say though, Scotty, that there was, when I was watching these episodes for the first time, I was really hoping that there would even be some mention of just Wakeko. If K2, honestly, I think the first thing I hoped for was that we would not see K2 activated. I was like, maybe we'll just jump to the next arc and K2 will be there. And then that kind of leaves you that wiggle room of was that the droid or was it from Wakeko? And I'm glad that they just fully committed and they were like, no, this is it. This is K2. Let's activate him.
Yeah,
and I think it was a fun beat to end on. But like,
otherwise they wouldn't have been able to use KX droids in the Gorman Massacre, I don't think.
I thought it was going to be one of those cases where they would show a KX droid and everyone would assume like, yeah, Cassian took this KX droid, that's K2SO, and now we know the origin story and we'll skip over the next year. But then people who read the comic could be like, well, maybe that's the real thing. I don't know. Like, I kind of thought they were going to go that route where both could be true, kind of a Schrodinger's K2SO.
Oh, yeah. The only thing I didn't like about the K2 scene at the end was just that it felt out of place for the episode. I just wasn't ready for that, and it to me it felt a little fast for Cassian to have just realized that Bix is gone and now he has a new friend. I don't know. I love their relationship. I love K2SO. It was just a very different vibe to happen in the same episode.
Which does... I'm someone who was like, I really wanted K2 to come into this story sooner. But yeah, like, he is a comedic character. That is kind of why he is there in Rogue One, to deliver those dry lines. And so
Yeah,
I can understand why Tony Gilroy might not have wanted K2SO running around the Gorman Massacre. Like, I do get it.
Yeah, I do too.
But, and I also agree with you that to me, it felt like, especially when Willman was leaving and he's like, wait, one more thing, come back here and help me load this droid into the truck. I was like, man, people are dying left and right. And I get it. Like, this would be cool, a cool thing for the rebellion to have, but it did, to me, feel like they just had to get K2 in the story.
It really felt like you had a really good script and then someone scribbled this part on a post-it note and slapped it on the end.
But yeah, that's like such a nitpick that I have at this point, where I'm like, this is still, I would give these episodes an A+.
Oh yeah, it's definitely a nitpick, and it
Uh-huh.
I think it became more of a nitpick for people who know the original How Did Cassian Meet K2 story.
Yeah, there's also that. Like, I have that whole just like canon junkie baggage where I'm like,
yeah,
I'm not gonna let it. I'm not gonna ding the episode for it too hard, but there is that part of me that's just like, it doesn't line up perfectly, and now I have feelings.
I am glad that it didn't turn out to be a situation where I see a lot of people talking about B2 Emo in the chat, and we should all be wondering where he is and if he's safe and if he's all right. But I'm glad that it wasn't a situation where B2 Emo somehow gets like uploaded and is now K2SO.
Yeah, that would have been devastating. I mean, I was kind of like prepared for that when we were going into season 2. I was like, yeah, they're probably going to make this, they're going to make K2 dying in Rogue One even sadder. But B2...
Is he safe? Is he all right? I don't know. We'll find out in the next couple episodes.
I mean, honestly, season 2 of Andor is bad. Now I have to say it, because B2 Emo should have been in every single episode, and I miss him.
Tony Gilroy gets a show and he's like, I hate droids.
He introduces us all to this adorable little red gentleman, and then he's like, you get him for 3 episodes.
He's like, no, it's like an annoying little chihuahua. Don't worry about him.
No, I want him. I miss him.
And we're all just like, where is he?
But where?
He was at the premiere. Like, they had a big, like, physical thing of him.
It's so Andover. Star Wars is ruined. That's Tony Gilroy did it. He killed Star Wars because he took B2 Emo from me.
Tony Gilroy knows how to write some really, really powerful, amazing Star Wars stories. But I think he's not as good at the like sillier comedic moments that we all know and love that are always in Star Wars. And a lot of that has to do with droid characters. They're almost always the comedic relief. So that makes sense to me.
I fully agree. I mean, yeah, the whole like just Andor is not as pulpy as other Star Wars, and I am fine with that because we get so much pulp in other Star Wars. So yeah, but like I agree. I think he's just like, I'm here to take this so seriously. Get that Babu Frick puppet out of here.
Tin Man, we kind of covered this one already, but we can touch on it again. Tin Man says, does Mon now have 3 speeches? The monster one, the HoloNet one from the Rebels, and the big one from the Ghost. The Senate speech would definitely be suppressed. The HoloNet one could be made on the transport between Andor and Rebels.
So my argument to that is like, why, if she made a second speech, why on earth would the Empire broadcast it on their own HoloNet? Like, so I do not think that there are 3 speeches. I think the monster one and the HoloNet one are the same speech. Maybe doctored. That's headcanon. It's fun. But no, I think it's 2 speeches. The monster one / HoloNet one, and then the big one from the Ghost. Those are the 2 speeches that are mentioned.
Yeah. Agreed.
Jesus Fernandez says, won't be able to watch live, so I'm sorry if this was already discussed. Do we know the fate of Gorman and canon? Was it just destroyed by the mining? Love all the content as always. So I don't think we've ever really dived into Gorman outside of, like, we've heard about the Gorman massacre, both of them. I don't think that we ever really touched Gorman after that. So knowing what we know now from Andor season 2, I think Gorman is, I mean, they're going to rip into it and finish the Death Star. The planet's gone. Like, I think it's going to be fully messed up.
Yeah, I never had thought about asking you if we knew any more about Gorman.
I'll double check.
But I mean, I have to assume it's not looking good. That planet, I mean, they straight up were like, we're here, all the mining stuff is here, and this planet will destabilize by the time we're done with it. And that's why all the clothes in Star Wars are all ratty looking.
Yeah, because Gorman's gone.
No one has that good Gorman silk.
Yeah, I don't see anything. I'm just skimming here, but I don't see anything to suggest that there's more story. And based on what they were saying, like, it's going to destabilize the core. If you've seen that image of Jeddah after the Death Star shoots it, it's from the comics. That's what I assume Gorman looks like. Just kind of a messed up husk.
And like, oh yeah, I think we saw this in Resistance, like the planets that they tried to make Starkiller Base out of but failed.
Yeah,
before they finally did it with Ilum. It's like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're just going to come in with like Star Destroyer sized backhoes and like take chunks out of the planet. And I don't know how else to describe it.
It's probably going to end up looking like the second Death Star.
Yeah.
Just big old chunks taken out of it.
Tin Man, thanks for another one, says, now that we have 2 Bale actors, one of them can be Bale's decoy like Sabe is Padme's.
Oh, Bale has his own handmaiden.
Look, if Bale's going to be in another story, every shot should just alternate between Benjamin Bratt and Jimmy Smits. Like, if he's in a conversation with someone, it cuts to Mon Mothma, it cuts to Jimmy Smits, cuts to Mon Mothma, cuts to Benjamin Bratt. That won't be distracting at all.
That would be weird. That's going to lead them into just making this weird AI version where it's the 2 of them mixed together. I would hate that.
Yeah, don't do that.
Scotty Heron has another one here. Mon had a real crazy couple of days. That should have been the title. Mon's crazy couple of days.
Yeah, Mon Mothma's no good, very bad day.
Gives this speech, watches people get shot, barely escapes an exploding ship, gets flown into a nebula, almost captured and blown up again, and another huge speech. Yeah, I mean, I think she was probably prepared for this to be a really dangerous and tumultuous escape. But who knows if she was actually prepared for everything that does go down. It's a miracle that she made it out at all.
We still haven't watched Secret Cargo just start to finish. I've watched bits and pieces of it to edit a lot of videos. I've used that episode so much in the past months. But it seems to me that she really like gets into it, or like she gets over the fear pretty quickly. And when she arrives on the Ghost, she's like all business. Let's go. Let's do this.
She's like, I feel so alive.
Yeah.
Finally, she gets to like do something instead of trying to work through these bureaucratic nonsense meetings and stuff.
And all these people want to help me. This is great.
Yeah, she gets to like actually feel like a leader. Ugh. Yeah, that's gonna make all of the other Mon Mothma stuff feel so more meaningful.
Slay Queen.
That something else that I thought was funny that the Blast Points podcast brought up was that they were like, imagine after everything that went down about Mon escaping the Senate and how intense all that was, imagine Zeb and oh my god, I'm blanking on his name.
Ezra.
Imagine Zeb and Ezra hanging out, like just waiting to pick her up, arguing with each other.
Yep.
Playing stupid games.
It is so fun. Like, this is another video idea I'd have, but like to cut in between like very intense Andor stuff and being like, let's check in on the Rebels crew.
Yeah.
Like Cassian is being tortured in Narkina 5 and Zeb and Ezra are stealing fruit.
Just like having these very silly arguments.
Yeah. I joke, but I really like what Force Center said.
Oh, yeah, he's got his little slingshot too.
Yeah. Force Center, Joseph and Ken and Jen were talking about how, yeah, we do make these jokes about Andor and Rebels and kind of the tone shift. But if you really look at Rebels, like everything going on there is still very serious, very horrific. It's just that it's presented in a bright, colorful, like more kid-friendly way. But like Zeb thinks he is the sole survivor of the genocide of his planet.
Mm-hmm.
Sabine thinks, well, she did. She made a weapon that was then used to attack her own people. Ezra is an orphan on a subjugated world. Hera has been on Ryloth that like just can't catch a break. Kanan, he's one of the last few Jedi left. Like, it's still very intense. It's just presented differently.
That's why I love Rebels so much. And I feel like in so many ways, Andor and Rebels like go hand in hand. It's just one is animated and meant for a younger audience, and one is a lot harder, more intense, meant for adults.
I am probably going to write my season 2 review soon, but like I'm going to include the bit of like the way that Lego has the black boxes that are for adults. It's still Lego. It's still something that like kids play with, but like this is a more intense set that isn't really a play set. It's to be displayed. It's more mature, whatever. But like Lego still makes bright and colorful sets that I still like to build.
Right.
Like both fit.
Yeah. You've got like, I'm trying to think of a good example of like a fun set for a kid to build. Like I don't know, what you're better at remembering all the Lego sets. What was your favorite Lego set growing up?
Oh, good question. I really loved Aquazone. It was like an underwater. It still felt very sci-fi. It still felt like you were building ships, but like the bad guys, their submarines were like sharks,
Mhm.
and the good guys were like these yellow, bright submarines. Yeah,
So
but yeah, those were still just very fun to build as a kid.
the set itself kind of told a story for the mind of a child, right?
Yeah,
It was like
exactly.
and so like that kid is not going to want to build the Colosseum. Yes,
Right.
the Colosseum has tons of real world history, but it's a huge set. It's a pain to build. It's all one color. And that's
I'm enjoying just seeing everyone loving on. Yeah, I was a '90s Lego boy, but a lot of Bionicle love in the chat.
Oh
I
yeah.
was too young for Bionicle. That was like kind of my I don't build Lego years. I'm in college and blah blah blah.
Too old for Bionicle?
No, too young.
You said
Or wait, too old. No, Bionicle was a thing after I like grew up.
so you
Does
were
that make
too
sense?
old.
Is that what I said? I don't remember.
You said you were too young.
I was too old for Bionicle. What'd you
Anyways,
put in this old fashioned
no one is too
bourbon?
young.
How dare you?
Did you want a virgin old fashioned? I don't even know how to make one of those.
Is that just sugar water?
I should have just brought you caffeine and sugar water
Hmm.
because that's what you need.
Let's go back to some questions. Steve Davis III sent in another one. Thank you. The thing that bothered me was that it was Bale's team that was compromised. If they were supposed to take her to Yavin, how would the ISB not know? Seems off.
Supposed to take her to Yavin.
I don't think we know what Bale's team was supposed to do.
Right. They were just gonna escort her out, and then
I'll
who
have
knows
to.
what they would have done with her after that.
I don't remember everything they said, because Bale may have said like, "Yeah, my team will pick you up and take you to Yavin."
That could have been just what Bale thought.
Well, yeah, but like, if that was the plan, then it seems like the ISB leak.
Yeah.
Then they would know about Yavin.
Oh, okay, I see. Maybe, yeah, I think in that situation, then Bale would have had to have not mentioned Yavin to those
Maybe
people.
it was something like they're gonna get you and then meet up with someone else and they're gonna take you to, I don't know. But I assume that the ISB mole did not know about Yavin, or else that would have been a huge problem.
But didn't she die?
Yes.
Okay, so even if she did know, she didn't have time to tell anyone else.
Yeah. I mean, well, it depends on when she found out, because she did try to contact the ISB and catch in, but yeah.
But they cut the transmission.
Yeah. We don't know what all they knew, but that does make me want to go rewatch those scenes and just check to make sure it's airtight. But...
Oh god. I like that though. That's juicy.
Yeah.
This goes back to an earlier joke. Ayahaja says, "Now I want to hear Palps say, live, laugh, love."
Live, laugh, love.
There you go.
Is
He
that
might
good?
have a sign too.
Next time I see Sam Witwer,
have him say it in the Maul voice. I think it's funnier to hear it from Maul than
I like that.
Palpatine.
I like that.
Because
he's screaming it.
Like, Maul is much more of a showman, has much more of a showmanship air to him. Palpatine is happy sitting in his chair in a sack, just like being evil. I don't know.
Yeah.
What he does in his free time.
People are also pointing out that the ISB person was part of Lonnie's team, so he would have known what was safe and what was not to say. So that is good.
Yeah, I think we have ways of knowing that this works.
He told his mole that you're going to take Mon Mothma to Yavin 3. 4.
Yeah. Don't go to 4.
Don't go to 4.
It's full of monsters.
It sucks. It is full of monsters.
It is full of monsters. We all know what happens in Yevonport.
Lightspeed Bear, thanks for being a member of the 603rd. Amazing arc, the latter 2 episodes especially. I'm so impressed they kept the Rebel storyline intact. Beautiful synergy between live action and animation. Senate Escape, so good. Chills with Cass meeting Mon.
I know.
And finally, Erskine. What a great dude.
Erskine was a great dude. Seeing Mon and Cassian meet for the first time felt such a surreal moment, because you're like, wait, they've never met until now? Just thinking about watching this whole show, you're just like, oh yeah, they have to meet, I guess. And they meet in such a stressful situation. But once Andor says those lines of like, I have friends everywhere, I love the look on Genevieve O'Reilly's face in that moment where she's kind of like, oh, okay, I think I'm in good hands.
It's still like, I mean, that is what Luthen told her.
Uh-huh.
She knows it's Luthen's person, but yeah.
Another person wondering, Jack 7, thank you for the super chat. Where are the cute whiteboard drawings for the Gorman massacre?
Yeah, we opted to not do that.
Yeah, we thought maybe no. I said earlier, if I had done any whiteboard drawings, it would have just been a sad face getting even more sad throughout the different arcs.
Which I think would have worked. Haja's got another one. Thank you. Says, next Tony Gilroy project in a few years' time, many Bothans died. The stories of Mon and her rebels getting the second Death Star plans. I mean, I know that's a story that a lot of Star Wars fans want to hear, but
I was just saying earlier, we were walking Hilo, and I was like, every time I watch that scene in Return of the Jedi and hear Mon Mothma say many Bothans died, I'm gonna, like, in my head think of the Gorman people that I watched die.
Yeah.
Until we get more information about these Bothans, until we can see them.
The next one is from Justin T. Mars. I think I found his message. It says, for a celebration group costume march, Gorman protester grieves, or Ferrick's funeral ceremony outfit, I want to be Brasso. You can do Brasso and Brasso.
Yeah. It should just all be Brassos.
Yeah. I do love the Ferrick's, like, the daughters and sons of Ferrick's uniform. Mm-hmm. I think it's so cool.
Uh-oh, Hilo's getting restless back there. Oh, poor
Hey,
buddy.
You still talking about Star Wars?
Patrick Foley, thank you for the super chat. I think Cyril is a tragic character. He really did care for the rule of law. Everyone above him, especially Dedra, took advantage of that. I mean, he cared for the rule of law to the point where he didn't live his life probably how like he would have wanted. He spent so much time caring about order and law and like what the right thing to do is according to the Empire, and then he realizes in his last moments that all of that is BS and that he should have been helping the Gorman people.
I think that Cyril had ideals that were not necessarily bad, but are so easily twisted. Like, I don't think it's bad to want order, and laws are not bad, but he didn't see the reality of like the opening scene is 2 of his peers, 2 cops, hassling a guy who did nothing but kind of chuckle at them for being doofuses. Mm-hmm. They hunt him down, shake him down, and then they wind up dead. And Cyril, even when he's confronted with like, they were in the brothel area where they're not supposed to be, like, I forget everything that his superior says, but he's like, they did this, which they're not supposed to do, in a place where they're not supposed to be, with equipment they're not supposed to have. we're just going to sweep this under the rug.
But
And
Cyril just like is so obsessed
uh-huh.
with the idea that someone could get away with this.
Right. And Cyril doesn't see the criminal element within his own group.
Mm-mm.
He's just like, but 2 pre-Ox Morlana cops are dead. What do we do about this? It's like, well, they were the ones being criminals. They were
Right.
criminals too. And so like he's just so he's got those blinders on
Mm-hmm.
of law and order at any cost, and that's easily twisted into fascism.
Yeah.
But he thought this whole time he was part of law and order, and then I love at the very end he's like, oh no, I'm chaos.
Yeah. I'm the problem. I never truly chose a side. He thought he was choosing the Empire, but he didn't realize.
I think he just didn't understand his side. He didn't understand that the side he'd chosen was not on his side.
Right.
He chose the side of law and order, which is like exactly what people talk about now. It's like, oh, the law and order party sure doesn't seem to care about laws right now.
Exactly.
And like that's Cyril was, I'm part of the law and order party.
But I'll make up my own laws.
Right. Like, wait a minute. Why is the law and order party massacring people?
Yeah. He's a great example and like learning moment to show what happens when you don't even try to understand both sides. He lived a very one-sided life, and he thought he was doing good by doing that.
So was Cyril redeemed at the end? No.
No way. That's why he died. Because who kills him ultimately? The Gorman guy.
The person he betrayed.
And we didn't even really talk about this, but I kept thinking, oh man, if Cyril hadn't had that brief moment of violence towards him, he may not have shot him in the head.
Yeah,
and
maybe.
he may have let Cyril live.
Yeah.
So all of that was his fault.
Yeah, but no, like Cyril did nothing other than come to a realization. Like that, which I like. I liked that as a story beat. Maybe he would have gone on to redeem and atone, but like his next act is just to go right back to attacking Cassian. Like he did not pull himself out of his shame and his desperation. Yeah.
Yeah.
So no to Cyril redemption. Just Cyril realization. Like I think it was a potential step to him becoming a better person, but he didn't get to go that far.
The Dutch Star Wars guy. So for me, episodes 8 and 9 are up there as some of the best Star Wars episodes we've ever gotten. Do you guys agree? And what other episodes are up there? Definitely agree. I think we've made that very clear. What other episodes of Star Wars TV do we think are up there?
Rick's Road. I love.
Are they all from Andor?
No, but I'm going to start with Andor because that's where we're at right now. Rick's Road, One Way Out. I mean, I would probably just put the whole Narkina 5 arc in there, and the Eye, the heist episode. I would all consider to be just like incredible.
I think other than that, honestly, a lot of my picks would be from animation. They would be from The Bad Batch. They would be like Twilight of the Apprentice.
Yep.
From Rebels.
Twilight of the Apprentice, the Solitary Clone from Bad Batch, phenomenal. And all I don't remember the title of the other Crosshair episode in season 2, but the one on the snow planet with Mayday.
Yeah.
That one's rad.
Ugh, Jedi Knight. I can't talk about that
one. Don't talk to me about Jedi Knight.
We don't talk about Jedi Knight.
Yeah, Jedi Knight's incredible. Trials of the Darksaber, I love.
Yeah.
I would put some Mandalorian episodes in there. I mean, like the Marshal, just for what it represents for me, bringing in a minor publishing character, bringing Cobb Vanth into live action.
Yeah.
I just remember the feeling that gave me.
The Mortis arc, those are good.
Yeah.
Like, I love so much about The Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett, but I don't consider a lot of those episodes like top tier writing and execution and cinematography, and like it feels like it's like not really comparable to a show like Andor, but that makes me sound pretentious.
It's like I love watching The Mandalorian.
It's a different flavor.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, Mandalorian gave us Grogu, which I will forever be obsessed with. But is it the best television writing that I've ever seen for Star Wars? No.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, like, yeah, I love The Mandalorian. I love most Star Wars things, but I wouldn't consider, like, I don't think The Mandalorian is one of my all-time favorite shows.
Yeah.
It's really fun to watch, but
it's funny that like sometimes people will just assume that because I'm a super fan of Grogu, that like to think that anything is better than stuff Grogu is in is wild. And I'm like, no, I don't he's cute. That's why I like him.
I mean, you do cry every time you see him.
Yeah, but because
so it's easy to confuse.
And I love him and I want to hold him. But
someday.
It's not really making me feel any emotions other than give me that baby. But yeah. Anyways, yeah, there were a lot of great scenes in Acolyte too. I do think what's the episode with the stranger?
Day and Night, that one.
Day and Night, yeah, those are great.
Hell, I'll throw Ninth Jedi in there. And now I'm just looking at like what shows am I forgetting?
We should try to wrap up soon because I'm hungry and it's almost 9.
Yeah. Dean, thank you for another super chat. What characters from Andor do you think would get along best with the OT characters? For me, Brasso and Chewbacca. I love that.
Oh yeah. And
I would like to think that Chopper. Oh well, that's not OT. But B2 Emo and literally anyone. B2 and R2, B2 and 3PO. I think Cassian and Han would get along.
I think B2 and AP5 would get along great.
Yeah. He's not an OT character though.
Oh, I didn't see the OT part. And I was just thinking of other droids.
Leia and Mon Mothma. We know that's true.
Yeah. They're hanging out and being like, can you believe the stuff that we have to deal with?
Wilman and Luke would get along pretty well.
Wilman and Luke?
Yeah.
I think Bix and Leia
for sure
would get along great.
Gregular asks, how do you think the 3 episodes per week release model has shaped the way audiences have experienced, digested, and connected with season 2's story?
I think it's given us a lot to chew on, and I do wonder if this will lead to people being even less satisfied with a single episode going forward. I hope that that's not the case. But shows like Andor tend to do that.
Andor, like, it's a kind of a weird show. Like, season 1 was also almost structured like this. There were a couple of standouts, like episodes 7, 11, 12. They weren't really part of an arc themselves. But yeah, like, I am glad that, for example, in arc 2, the end of an episode wasn't just like Bix taking drugs. That I would have wanted to keep going. So I am glad that we're able to take in these whole arcs one at a time instead of having to wait. But I was also prepared to do that because I knew how season 1 was.
Mm-hmm.
And I would not have minded if we got 10 to 12 weeks of this series and just like reveling in it.
Right. We all would like more Andor. I realize it wouldn't make sense for them to go on for years and years and years to produce more Andor, but at the same time, it's doing great for them.
Yeah. I wish you had.
Yeah.
But I get it, Tony and Diego. I know
They
you
they
didn't
want
want to.
They want to go do other things, and that is fine.
That's fine. Gabo Lizardo says Legret in the surveillance room during the speech and Lonnie at the party in the last one have been two of my favorite pieces of acting this season. Excellent intentional work from everybody involved. I liked that Legret got to be the focus of an episode or of a moment at least.
Yeah. That was really fun.
And Gabo also said, need Tales of the Senate with Natalie Portman, Genevieve O'Reilly, Jimmy Smits, and or Benjamin Bratt doing Star Wars West Wing.
That would be incredible.
That would be fun.
I would love to get some Padme and Mon Mothma scenes together.
Billionth Kevin says, also, who are you is the question no one asked, but the Gore repeatedly answered. I do like that.
Oh yeah, we are the Gore.
We are the Gore. We are the Gore.
We are the Gore. We are the Gore. Makes me think of Tenacious D.
I think that's a great observation. I had not thought about that, but yeah, they're chanting "We are the Gore."
Uh-oh.
Oh, did we? No, we're back.
Oh, okay.
Like chanting "We are the Gore" over and over. Like they know who they are. Cyril does not know who he is.
Yeah, because they're living their truth.
And Cassian also, like, I think he has more confidence than Cyril, but he doesn't know what his destiny has in store for him. Like, he's questioning things a little bit more. But yeah, the Gore are like, we know who we are, and the Empire just doesn't like us because we're outside of the norm.
Mm-hmm. Part of that too is like a lot of times the people doing the oppressing wish they could live out a truthful life and express pride, but I think deep down they know what they are supporting and representing is wrong, and they just can't fix it. They're like, they feel like they're in too deep, right?
I mean, yeah, it's
that makes them even more mad when they see the people of Gorman living their truths and being prideful. And
let's dig into that, because when we get like just Pride Month and Pride celebrations, and then you have morons being like, well, I'm gonna throw a straight Pride parade, and you're like, okay, but it's never been dangerous to be straight. Like, that's the point.
There's nothing really prideful about that. You could be prideful about just being a good person, but like no one's gonna throw you a party for that.
You don't deserve a parade. I mean, like, I am straight and I am proud of who I am, but no one's ever wanted to kill me because I'm straight.
Right.
And the act of pride for the queer community, the whole point is that, like, we are here despite the hatred that's been thrown our way. We are proud of who we are.
Despite the danger.
There is danger in pride for them.
Right.
There's no danger in pride for us, for me. Like, I just remember when people were trying to do straight pride parades, and I was like,
I don't remember that.
I'm embarrassed.
That is gross.
Now I'm not proud.
Also, no one wants that. They would be so boring.
Boring, yeah. Take me to a pride anytime. Like, so much fun.
Yeah. And Samuel Rogers is right. Pride started as a protest.
Yeah.
First and foremost. So, again, part of the reason why we celebrate Pride now is because we went through a lot of pain and suffering to get to the point where we are now, where, well, we're not really there anymore, but with every win that the gay community got, they felt like they should celebrate. And that's kind of what pride is. But now it's kind of like, well, we're kind of going backwards. And that sucks.
Yeah. But I thought
But
that
we
was a
should
good
still-
observation.
Yeah, we should still celebrate pride. Go to a pride parade. You'll have a great time.
Yes. Citizen Z says we should get a spin-off series post Rogue One. I mean,
Is that A New Hope?
I hope that we get another series that is similar to Andor in tone and writing, etc. So it doesn't have to be a spin-off. It can just be similar to.
Yeah.
The Dutch Star Wars guy says, I don't know if this has ever been pointed out or not, but I think Molly looks a lot like Mon Mothma. Cosplay idea? Has that ever been pointed out to you?
You know, it may have. No, I get that a lot.
And
Which
you did
I
not
very
a
much
cosplay, but your red carpet look when we got to go to the Andor season 1 premiere was very Mon Mothma.
I would love to do a full-on Mon Mothma cosplay, but her outfits are insanely intricate, and I don't sew, so that would be kind of hard for me. But yeah, I did do, what do they call it when it's like bounding when you go to Disney parks and you're like, you have an outfit inspired by a character. It was kind of like that.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that had a name.
That might be like a theme
But
park specific name.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah. Disney bound, yeah.
This Dad's Life says, love you guys. Love Andor. Did you notice when Cyril was choking Dedra, the subtle hum of the force choke sound effect? I did not, but I wasn't listening for it. But old-fashioned, great choice, by the way. Thank you. I'm done with it.
Cheers. I'm almost done. No, I didn't notice a subtle force choke sound effect. I'll have to go back and see.
That's
Scotty here. What were you saying?
Oh no, I was just gonna say, like, yeah, I look forward to just rewatching all of Andor, start to finish. Like,
I know.
I despite wishing that it could have been 60 full episodes, it is kind of nice that, like, at the end, 24 episodes, they're still pretty long episodes, but it's manageable. Like, if you ever just want to watch Andor, you can get through it kind of fast.
We can get through both seasons without too much of a time commitment. Scotty Heron says, recently on a Rebels rewatch, I tried to count how many kills each character has. They've even got Ezra racking a body count in season 1 shooting down ties.
I mean, it's Chopper. Spoilers,
Chopper has the most.
It's Chopper. He blows up entire cruisers.
Yeah.
He's responsible for the destruction of an interdictor, I believe. So it's Chopper. Jonathan.
But again, people want to poke fun at animation and call it a kids show.
It's true.
There's a lot of crazy stuff going on.
Jonathan M. Thomas asks, what did you guys think of Galactic C-SPAN? The Arabesh says SNN, so I think that is Senate News Network. That'd be my guess.
Yeah. I mean, they were doing the same stuff that our media is doing.
I liked seeing it.
Yeah. I liked seeing the Star Wars version of it.
Yeah.
I see Hilo back there just getting fed up with us, sitting at our computers. Sebastian, thank you for the next super chat. Loved these episodes of Andor. I really liked getting the origins of the rebellions are built on hope line. Same. I thought it was really great to hear that from the bellhop character specifically after him giving us that story about him witnessing and being there for the Tarkin massacre. That
little sub story of him meeting Cassian and then recognizing him and being like, I didn't log you in. Like, Cassian made that connection and the guy was like, this dude is up to something, but I'm into it. And then he recognizes him.
He's doing the right thing.
Yeah. Ikana says, do you think Linus Mosk would be at home a rebel?
Oh yeah. Whatever happened to Mosk?
Yeah, he was just left on Ferrex last we saw, but
He's drunk in an alley somewhere.
yeah, I think he just went back to his weird welding job or wherever he was.
I don't know. I think he had what he thinks is a moment of almost glory and danger to the point where he's probably going to just go back to whatever he was doing before.
Yeah. I don't see him becoming a rebel.
Yeah.
Dan, thank you for being a member of the 603rd.
Sorry. I was going to pull that up too.
So I'm trying to go faster because I have to pee.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to read this one. Hilarious name, Dirk Diggler's stunt double. Thank you for the super chat. I'm still hurt thinking B is somewhere waiting on Andor to come back. I know.
Me too.
Every time we talk about B, I remember that he's comparable to a dog, and then I just get so sad.
I hope he's happy.
I hope he's happy.
Scotty Heron asks, but which Andor character would Biggs get along with?
Brasso for sure.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of anyone else that has a cool mustache, but
they don't have to have.
I just like to think about it. But yeah, Brasso, everyone would get along with B2 Emo. You know, I'll just say Cassian for the silly fact that back when Rogue One was announced and we first saw like the cast picture, there were theories that Cassian was actually Biggs.
Oh.
And that was, I don't think even I bought into that.
That would have been wild.
But, so yeah, I think he'd get along with Cassian. They're both pilots.
Sure. Dean says Marva and Yoda would have gotten along. Also, Edie and Palpatine.
Yeah, I think they would have.
Yeah, Palpatine would have sensed a lot of hate and anger in Edie, and they would have probably had like a book club or like chess night or something.
Yeah.
They would have watched a soap opera together.
Fofo Nablis says, no one has really touched on this, but the end credits music for episode 8 quite literally got me bawling my eyes out. Proper adds to the whole thing.
Oh yeah, that opera music.
Yeah.
Is that what that one was? It was really like moving. And we don't get music like that in Star Wars often. I mean, there's the Squid Lake opera, which didn't sound like traditional what we know opera to sound like.
Dynan says, Clay, a spy game written by the Gilroys ASAP, please. Yeah. I mean, Clay is a boss.
Yeah.
She deserves more to do.
Ash Deasy sent a super chat, but I don't see a message.
I also did not see one come in.
I'll go ahead and read this one. Thank you, Lord Hosk. Are we keeping you from 0 BBY? What is that? Well, watch A New Hope.
There it is.
There it is.
Shantanu Vinod also sent in a super chat, but did not see a message with it. But thank you.
Yeah.
But we've been going for 3 hours.
Yeah.
So
time to go.
We need to go eat.
Poor Hilo back there is like,
he's being great.
Such a good boy. Yeah.
There we go.
Guys.
Ash, thank you, says, I'm sad we've only gotten a Star Destroyer from far away in orbit over Mina Rao, hoping for more in Arc 4.
The ships, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, hey, Alex D.
Alex D. Alex D.
That's my friend Alex, and his last name also starts with D. He's my friend.
Aww.
I love him.
He's my friend too. We
He's
see him
my
like
friend.
once a year, maybe at Dragon Con.
Yeah. Soon, Alex D.
Still a great time.
Thank you, everyone, for hanging out with us, giving us questions. Thank you, Maggie Lovitt, for chatting with us for the first hour. Go check out her article or her interview with Kyle Soller because it was great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Really,
we gotta
really
go.
good stuff.
We gotta go cook and eat. Oh, Shantanu, thank you. I just can't reconcile the fact that Luthen Rail and Jar Jar exist in the same universe. That's the whole final arc is just going to be Jar Jar and Luthen Rail antics.
That's the
That's-
point of that's like why Star Wars is such a cool like place to be. You have silly Jar Jar and you have people like Luthen. So like again, there's something for everybody.
Yeah, that's something I said in my review. Is like sometimes there are fart jokes, and sometimes it's very very serious,
And
we should pay
sometimes
attention.
there's genocide.
And sometimes there's genocide and real world issues to talk about.
Yeah.
But yeah, as we talk about fart jokes, that's how we'll end tonight's stream. So thank you, everyone. We'll see you next week, and may the force be with you.